everybody. This will maybe be the weirdest episode of Frame Trap of the year for reasons that we'll get into in just a second. But before we do, time to introduce the guest. At the end, we have the lovely Michael Damiani.
Hello.
That was unexpected. Good. I liked it. And next to him, we've got Bradley Ellis.
Hello.
I'll be hosting you through this. I'm Ben Moore. The reason this might be the weirdest Frame Trap of the year is we're going to play a little fast and loose with kind of. I don't want to overhype it. It'll be a little bit different than what we're used to.
Dude, new type.
Yeah,
new type Frame Trap.
We got some new things in. The reason we're playing fast and loose is we're shooting this less than a week after we shot the last Frame Trap, and so there'll be some new games that we're talking about, but because of the holiday season, the schedule has been a little bit squished, and so we don't have a bunch of new games or a bunch of in-depth new impressions to give you. Because it's just been so close, we haven't had time to get to all of those things. But hopefully some of the new stuff will make up for it. Before we get into things, though, let's set up the tone a little bit. And I want to tell you a story of mine that I went through yesterday. I decided to do some Christmas shopping, and I wish I hadn't waited as long as I did. I always wait way too long to Christmas shop. And, like, I put an order in for something. It didn't go through. It glitched out. Had to put in another order, but I got charged for both. Had to call customer service, and they're like, yeah, it'll take care of itself. And I'm like, oh, okay. I hope that's right.
Don't trust that.
And, like, I love Christmas. I do. I'm not this Grinch that doesn't enjoy Christmas and doesn't enjoy being with friends and family. No, it's awesome. Just don't like shopping. It just makes me anxious, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I love it.
I would love it, I guess, if I could feel more certain about it, but I've got some people in my family where they're like, oh, get me whatever.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No! And
Yeah.
There are some people that are great at it. There are some people that are so good at gift giving and they can, like, read people and they'll make something or they'll do something. But I kind of get paralyzed with indecision. But Brad, you do seem like a good gift giver.
I just love the Christmas vibe. I'm one of those people that embraces the chaos of Christmas. And I expect it every time, so I'm okay with it when it happens. Like, it doesn't really bug me that much when it's just madness everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's cool with me. Gifts, usually not too, like, I have to kind of, like, prod people for a little bit. Like, I ask my brother every time, but I'm exactly the same way, and he's like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know either.
Oh, it drives me nuts.
So then, like, but I always make sure to ask a little in advance so I can hear, like, a week later from them.
Gotcha.
So, like, my brother does the same thing to me, though, too. So, like, I'll ask him what he wants, and he'll ask me what he wants. We don't know. A week later, maybe have an idea or something like that.
So you got to give them time.
I have to prep in my family.
Okay. Damiani, is your family pretty easy to shop for?
Yeah, I usually get lucky. My mom usually sends me a text message with a kind of a list of what to get certain people in the family to make it easy. Just because I got my two brothers, and then they're both married, so I gotta get, like, gifts, for each of them as well.
Right.
And then my middle brother has two kids, so I gotta get, like, gifts for the kids now and stuff. So my mom just sends me a nice text message, usually about, like, a month to 6 weeks out, saying, oh, they would like this, they would like this, they would like. It's so easy.
Good
and
mom.
Over the time, it's like gotten, like, even easier. It's just like, just get this, like, get the golf balls for dad again. Like, just get the Starbucks gift card for the so and so, and just get Gap Kids cards or whatever. It's like it makes it so easy. So I don't. For the last several years, I haven't had to go through that hassle, but I do remember times, Ben, when it was driving around the stores, trying to get stuff, and, like, someone just be like, get me whatever, you know me well. What do you think you should get me? I'm like,
Don't tell me that.
No.
I'll get you a Lego set. Don't tell me that.
And then you get them something. It's like, I think you like this. And they're just like, do you really think I like? No, they don't do that. But, like,
Damiani,
in my head, I'm thinking that. It's like their reaction. Do they really like it or not?
That trap happened to me. So there was one year, because normally, like, I feel like they're like, oh, I don't know what I want. Just get me this. And, like, it's just this song and dance. And one year, my girlfriend and I were like, no, we're going to get my mom something. We're going to go out and we're going to like try. We're going to go to different stores. We're going to think about like the type of person that she is and what she likes. And we put a lot of effort into it. And we went from store to store and we debated and we had conversations back and forth. And I remember when we gave it to her, like, she was being so polite, but I could tell that it just was like not clicking with her. Mm-hmm. And I never saw her use it ever.
Oh,
we got her like these really, it was the some candle store. We got her these really expensive candles because it's like, oh, she has candles up all the time. And she's like commented that she likes this and this smell. Never seen it used. I think it's in a box somewhere.
Yeah.
And so like she was super polite about it. Not trying to throw my mom under the bus or anything, but like ever since that point, I've kind of been just like, please tell me what you want.
Yeah.
So I can make you happy so you can actually get use out of it.
My parents are so weird. I get my mom the same thing every year because it's the only thing she ever asks me. I get her like a gift certificate to a nail salon or something. That's all I've gotten her for like 6 years. That's all she's asked for. My dad, safe thing, always Beatle merch. Anything Beatles,
Nice.
easy for the dad. But me and my brother went a little different this year. We're getting some Beatles merch though.
Rolling Stones.
We got him, Rolling Stones. We got him a sound bar from Bose.
Oh, that's
so he's gonna
sweet.
be hyped, dude.
See, Brad, you crush it with gifts.
But like we like a lot of times we all like pitch in for like a gift for someone. So like
Yeah.
2 people going in on one gift or something like that.
Yeah, the other thing I think with gift giving that throws me off, Brad, is like for most of my life, it not anymore. It's a little bit different now, but growing up, it would be like, no, the only thing I want is games. That's
Same.
it. I just want video games. Please don't get me anything else. This is what I want. And like I've just kind of Christmas has always been that for me just because video games were my favorite thing and like honestly and truly the only thing that I wanted. And so when people are like, I want this thing in this field that you have no knowledge of, I sometimes I can feel like a little bit out of my element.
Sure,
where it's like, hey, buy me sports stuff. And it's like, how? Like I know it's not that complicated. I don't want to make it seem like it is, but just every once
it's
in a
always
while.
can be a little intimidating when you're outside your element.
Right, like anytime anyone asks me to buy them clothes, right? Like,
Sure,
it's just, yeah. But I'm excited about Christmas. You guys have any big Christmas plans that you're doing?
We always do Christmas in my house. We have usually around like 18 or 20 people usually at our house. So every year we do that there. So I don't have to go anywhere. So I'm happy at least.
Nice. My family, all of my family is out of state, and so like my girlfriend's parents were trying to be nice, and we've been cooking a lot more lately. And so we're like, oh, a good gift idea would be like knives and that sort of thing. They just sent a bunch of like cooking stuff to our house unwrapped, and so it's like, oh, I guess this is my Christmas gift. So it ended up being a little bit awkward, but it's okay. Heart was in the right
free
place.
stuff, baby.
Yeah. We needed new knives.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some video games. I think just because it's been so all-consuming for me, and Damiani, you've been knee-deep in the review, I think we should start with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. A little unknown indie game from an up-and-comer.
Yeah, never heard of it.
Nintendo, helmed by some unnamed developer named
Wait, aren't they
Sakurai.
owned by Microsoft?
They are not yet owned by Microsoft, but I think that'll happen.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
A lot of the guys at Nintendo will
Gotcha.
probably end up working on Minecraft stuff,
Gotcha.
Typical trap like that. But Damiani, before the show I said like, oh man, I really haven't gotten your thoughts on Smash Ultimate yet because you've just been busy, trying to get that review out. And so before I say anything or we get anywhere else, I just kind of want to know where your headspace is with Smash Ultimate at the moment.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster of emotions. To not be a cliche, but definitely sums it up very well. I think after spending so much time in that game, I have to say it's probably the most fun and the best Smash experience I've had since probably Melee.
I agree.
I'm one of the people who really was into Brawl initially, but as time went on, it didn't grow on me. It just felt like it was getting worse going back to it, and eventually didn't want to go back to it anymore. It's like, sorry, Brawl, time's passed. But this game, I think it does a really good job with the first of all, it has a lot of single player focused content. Obviously, World of Light. Did not expect that to be as long as it was. Basically,
What was your final time on it? Do you know?
So 100%ing it took just under 29 hours. I was like, this is like an RPG. This is like an old school RPG because I listened to you guys talk about it last time on Frame Trap, and I think you nailed it perfectly. That the sentiment that there are just times I played through it on normal. There are just times you just like breeze through, and you're just like, man, I'm just making good progress. I'm getting through. Just one more spirit, just one more spirit. I'm having a good time, and like it'll be hours later, and then you'll run into a matchup where you don't have the correct stickers, or the sticker you need is not leveled up high enough, and you just get crushed by the AI. And I'm just left scratching my head. It's like, wait, am I bad at this game? Did I do something wrong? Do I need to go grind? And there were a lot of hair. Just wanted to rip my hair out a lot. At several conjunctions in that game. The Ashley fight, I didn't have the sticker that invalidated reversing controls. So on that small WarioWare stage, kept knocking me off, and I'd try and recover. Would always flip the controls then, so I'd recover the wrong way, and I'm like, well, so much for that. The Dr. Wily 8 metal Mega Man one.
I still need to do that. I've encountered it.
That made me really angry. That I had to leave that after about like an hour of attempts. I was like, all right, no, that's it. I'm walking away. But I really liked what they did thematically with some of the like, I guess dungeon areas is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
They're those warps that you warp to a different map because it's the World of Light map. I'll leave it at that. That's like,
which is already pretty expansive.
It's huge. It looks deceptive. You'll zoom out like, it's not that big, and then 10 hours later, I fill in like half the map maybe. Good luck with that. But there are these spots where you warp to a different, smaller map, and I think that had some of the best moments for me. I have to give just one example. It's early on enough. There are way cooler ones after this, but they took the original Donkey Kong Country's first world, and it's like redrawn in HD essentially, and it has the music. You go to the levels, and it does like the little path icons that when you beat a spirit, and the spirit fights. They do such a good job of capturing the essence and the theme with the spirit fights, because you don't fight the model that you're seeing in the spirit. These 2D images, unfortunately, it would take like 10 years to probably make this game if they included every model from like every game and like set up the fights accurately. But they do their best to like throw out characters and have them use a color scheme and move sets. I think the Street Fighter fights were the best example.
Oh my god,
like having
that made me so happy
green Donkey Kong being Blanca, and then like only using roll moves and stuff, or
really cool.
or Meta Knight being Vega and just doing like the dives and stuff like that was so good.
And the music, like actually playing.
And the stage picks too, like like oh my gosh, they like matched up perfectly, and I just love that they did their best. Like they clearly tried, even without having like the axing the trophies and 3D models, all this extra stuff. I can see people looking at it and being like, this is just, you're just fighting things over and over again. Doesn't it just get redundant?
Right.
But I think you're missing that kind of like secret sauce of the effort and the love and care they put into the themes of a lot of these battles. Make it feel unique enough that you can play for hours and it doesn't get old.
Right. Yeah, Damiani, I really agree with you, and I do have some criticisms of World of Light, but I think overall they did a lot more right than they got wrong. And I think the big thing in a general sense of why that is like when I think through the other kind of lengthy single player modes that I've played through in fighting games this year, such as Dragon Ball FighterZ or like Libra of Souls and Soul Calibur 6. I think there are good ideas there, but at the same time, it also kind of felt like the same thing stretched out over a number of hours. And so you just kind of got numb to it, and it sort of lost the excitement that they had early on.
I agree with that.
And I think the thing World of Light has going for it is seeing how creative they get with those references. Sometimes those ideas don't necessarily translate to amazing fights, but I do think both in terms of not only the fights themselves and how they get creative with how they're interpreting these spirits, but also the World of Light map. Like figuring out like, okay, if I go over here and I hit this switch, that opens up this section. And so I feel like the design of it, you're very deliberately kind of running all over the place, trying to get treasure chests. You're not sure where a character is going to pop up that you're going to get. And so like there's kind of this constant surprise and excitement. And even with the legendary battles, I remember the last time on Frame Trap, I think I felt a little bit more frustrated with them. But if you are just willing to like take a step back, get some more spirits, level some things up, they do become a lot more manageable, and I'm not struggling nearly as much with some of those legendary spirits. It's just, did you do, you 100%ed it, so the Pauline fight was super annoying on the 75-meter stage, and I think that's where some of my disappointment comes with World of Light, is I won that, and there have been a couple of fights like that, where I've won the battle, not because I really felt like I earned it or I did cool stuff, but because the AI just had a brain fart and killed itself. And so I feel like some of the fights, it's kind of been this lose-lose situation where it's really annoying and hard. And then when I win in such a way that doesn't really feel authentic. And so you just kind of move on from that fight in a lame way. And I guess that's kind of my problem with World of Light overall, is that there are just moments where it doesn't really feel like you're playing Smash Brothers. Like there's too many things in it that kind of take away from the central control of the characters. And on one hand, I think that's okay. I think with single player content, it doesn't have to be this pure one-on-one fighting or four-player fighting or traditional Smash. I think you can make it feel different. But sometimes I think it gets so abstract that, I don't know, it doesn't feel like the same game anymore in a weird way. If that makes sense.
It sort of does. And you know what? I like joke to myself sometimes, Ben. Like this is a half truth. Some of those like ridiculous fights, like you mentioned, the Pauline one. Like for me, like actually the Mega Man one. There are a few others. I deep down I was like, is this Sakurai sharing his true feelings with us? Were these fights designed because he had a bit of pent up anger at the fan base? Like he probably loves the fan base, but at the same time, he probably hates some aspects about like how annoying it can be. Yeah. And some of those fights were just like born of like true love, I will say, like a nice way where it's just like, let me throw the most ridiculous situation at you. You'll love it. I know you're gonna hate it, but in the end, you're gonna love it and stuff. But like, I have to express myself in some way, and that was like my head canon going on with some of those fights. It's like, this is just Sakurai getting his revenge because people make stupid requests and annoy him and stuff. But I get what you're saying. Like, I do think that definitely not every matchup is as good as like some of the others, and it does feel drawn out. And I think that's my biggest criticism of World of Light, is that I don't think it needed to be as long as it did. I got to a point where I thought I was done, and they're like, no, you're not done. And I'm like, okay. But I felt so satisfied at that point. I was like, I really don't need any more. Like, I feel like I've accomplished so much.
I think put a lot of time. The problem with that, and I agree with you very much, is like I'm kind of at a point now where I have really strong spirits in each of the categories. And so the vast majority of new spirits that I'm getting are either much weaker or their support effect just isn't, like, I'm never going to use it. It's just so worthless. And so I think once you kind of reach that point, it's less exciting getting new spirits because you're not kind of getting that constant benefit. That's
so true, Ben. You definitely reached that point much sooner than the end of the game where you clearly know what you're going to be using. Besides, like, the rock, paper, scissors system, it's basically the assist ones are going to matter as much. And it's like you're fighting someone metal. You want metal killer. If you're any kind of, like, floor, like floor is lava or ice, you're going to use the invulnerability for that. Or, you know, there's always going to be a certain thing you're always going to use in a situation like a stamina battle. You want like the best auto heals. So you just keep regenerating health and stuff. If it's going to be a lot of assist trophies, use the assist. Like there's not a lot of surprises after you get, I would say, probably like around the halfway point anymore. To me, it didn't feel that way, and I do think that just going along with the spirit management, all the stuff they throw at you, it's an interesting system, and I liked it to an extent, but there's so many layers onto it, like the dojo stuff. At first, it's like, oh, this is cool, but then when I get to like my 8th dojo, I'm like, okay, do I really need to worry about this? Like, I was so obsessed with leveling, like getting everyone unlocked, and then like maybe figuring out the meta. But like 10 hours in, I was like, I don't even care. I didn't even like touch the dojos anymore. I was like, this isn't really doing anything for me.
Right. And you get all of these different trainers that can train you in a different style, and you look at some of these styles, and it's like, why? Like, I don't need to do this. Or like sending people on an expedition for hours and then they come back with basically nothing.
Yeah.
Again, you're not getting a substantial enough benefit that it's exciting or that you're looking forward to it. And I think it's so easy to kind of have this laundry list of complaints with World of Light because, like you were saying, they threw so much into it. But I also think that's exactly what makes it work and like why I'm having so much fun with it and why I feel compelled to finish it is because they threw so much at it and so much of it is so good that I think it is totally worth the time. Like that Snorlax fight. That Snorlax fight is amazing.
Wait, how far into the game is that?
I don't even think it's that far.
Okay.
And just I don't know, man. We kind of talked about it last time with Kyle, and I do think perhaps games media has this tendency to kind of get stuck on a name that is kind of most obvious. But I feel like there's just this weirdness with World of Light that feels so Sakurai. Like warts and all, this is such a weird, bizarre thing that only he could make. Mm-hmm. Like this isn't just a single player mode. It is this weird hybrid RPG sticker thing full of video game love that you couldn't get from anywhere else. And it's just kind of... Honestly, I think it has been like one of the just World of Light has been one of the biggest highlights of the year so far for me.
In essence, I think what it did, they axed the trophies in this game, but the lore behind the trophies, like all the information, it was like that essence was weaved into World of Light. You're experiencing it through the fights and stuff and the theme, like the thematic tones of it. And I just want to say one last thing about World of Light is some of the best things I think it does. Some of the boss fights in there, I really liked.
Yes,
everyone's seen Rathalos, but like I did. I've fought Rathalos in Monster games before. I did the 14 event with Rathalos, so it's like I know Rathalos' movesets, and when I went into that fight, I'm like I reacted to his moveset. It fights like the real. I was like, this is really good. I know it's side scrolling, but still, as best as they could do, this is really good. And later on, I won't say what the areas are, but they do like puzzle stuff, like to open multiple paths and stuff. Yep. Not like in the main map, but on these sub maps. And it's some of the coolest stuff that I've like seen. And I really wish they did more of that, but like focus more on that. But it's so good what they do. Yes, and I just would love to see more of that.
Yeah. I mean, in addition to the legendary spirits, there is a good build up and payoff to the bosses because you'll see like kind of a boss descend to the map, and it might take you a very long time to get there. But I feel like the presentation of the fight and the mechanics that they utilize for each of them, it's funny because some of we were talking about the legendary spirits. Or just any of the spirit fights, some of them feeling like completely unfair and BS, but the bosses that I've done so far have all felt like pretty reasonable challenges, where they're not that difficult to overcome, but they're also not entirely pushovers where if you just run there and try to spam attacks, you will get punished for that. And so it's kind of been a nice back and forth. Damiani. Wait, actually, before we move on, Brad, do you have any thoughts on World of Light that you'd like to share?
I've played like an hour, so I don't have a whole lot of experience, but it seemed interesting to me from it seemed like total video game love, what you guys were talking about earlier. Yeah. But like, I don't think I got to any of the boss fights or anything really like that yet.
Sure. Brad, question to you. A complaint that I've seen about World of Light that wasn't really an issue for me, but I could totally see it being an issue for others, is they're like, oh man, I want to play as this character in World of Light. This super specific character, it's not one of the first options that you get. It might, who knows how long it'll take me to get there. Is that something that was annoying to you?
I don't know. I didn't play long enough to really get to that point. Like, I think you unlock Cloud later in it, I think, which I would want earlier on. But I haven't played far enough to really be like, I really need this character. I haven't been to a situation where I was like, I could really do better if I had this character.
Gotcha.
So it's hard for me to tell.
Has not been an issue for you yet. Was that annoying to you, Damiani? Where it was
tiny
like,
bit.
Yeah.
I thought I would have an easier time with some of the battles if I had access to, say, like Samus. Samus is purposely withheld until a certain point in the game. You have to trigger an event. Doesn't matter which path you go. There's a certain part of the map you can't access till you've done a lot. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's where they put Samus. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then I told Brad earlier before you got here that like Bayonetta and Cloud are two of the very last characters you get in World of Light. And I think they did it very purposely like that, because those are like probably like the coolest characters. Like, oh yeah, I locked Cloud at the end, but at the same time, you've now gone through all the story mode and you never got to really play as them. And I don't know how much replayability there is for people. There is a new game plus, just lets you redo it with all your stats and everything. I don't really see people going back and going to World of Light a second time though.
Right. Yeah, don't you can you choose difficulty from the start, or do you unlock hard mode after you finish?
They're all available from the beginning, and you can switch at any time.
Okay.
And that is a word of advice. I would, if you're having trouble in a fight and you really want to beat it, feel free to turn it down to easy. That doesn't mean it's actually going to be easy. That Mega Man battle, try to turn it down to easy, still was impossible. Yeah. They might need to recheck their balancing on some of the difficulty stuff there, but other than that, you know, I think they got it right.
I want to transition into kind of talking about, and you can bring up more of the single player content, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the roster, Damiani, and how your experience has been online.
Okay, so the roster and then online?
You can do it whatever you want. This is a free-flowing podcast.
Yeah, I'm curious. Are you more interested about like my thoughts on like how unlocking the character process, or just like the roster in general, like how like the characters they picked and stuff, and how I feel about them?
I think for me, what I'm most interested in is just not only characters that I was like kind of excited for, but ended up being really amazing. Like how well designed some of the new characters are. And also just changes that they've made to past characters and kind of how that's affected your opinion on them. Like revisiting old favorites and having them work differently. For sure.
In terms of new characters, spending more time with them. So since we did our tournament this week on Tuesday, and after that, since I played, I started focusing on other characters. I read and read like who are some of the stronger characters of them. Like I want to know why they think they're stronger. Richter and Simon kept coming up as two of the strongest characters in the game, and I'm like, all right, I've only like dabbled in them. I want to try them out, and I have to say they play very differently than anything I played before in Smash Brothers, and I really like the design choice they did for them. The combination of having like implementing holy water, the cross, and the axe, using those to cover ground, mid, and air defense. The length of the whip essentially, and then their little like flip, the dive flip that they can do from like Symphony of the Night. The slide kick.
Yeah, it's so rad.
And but it's a 2-button input, so you could do a fake out one which doesn't do the attack, or it can finish it with the actual like kick part of it. And I had a really good time with it, and I now see as like, whoa, they are. I like this a lot. Incineroar is one that took a while because I didn't understand the parry mechanic of Incineroar builds up its smash power, and so I think it's up to 8 charges, and it almost one-shots you if you build up your 8 charges and do like a smash attack. It does like anywhere from 80 to 100% damage in one hit, which is insane. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know that. I thought it was just like to reflect back, or, you know, something like Ike or any of the Fire Emblem parries and stuff. A whole different dimension. And then like the grappling nature of Incineroar. Heck, they made it the Zangief characters, that's who represented Zangief in the Street Fighter fight. And I know Incineroar is slow, but the moveset was just I liked it. Like it's like basically it was a grapple character and used people's moves against them and stuff and a lot of positioning. In terms of like specific old character stuff that I liked, I like this in general. I like that the game feels faster than the past few since Brawl and Wii 3DS Smash. I don't think it's quite as nothing's gonna be as fast as Melee. Melee's insane with its speed, but I think they got as close as they're ever gonna be comfortable going. I think without pushing out too much of like the average fan who just like this is just I can't play this. Everyone's like zigzagging around too fast and stuff. I'm not used to this speed, but like the movement speed feels very good for classic characters. Like I was playing as like as Marth, as Sheik, as Fox and Falco. Even Samus feels good. I like the aerial lag reduction. So after you do your move in the air and you land, you can do stuff quicker. That's really nice, and I really like that change a lot. The weirdest thing for me is some of the Smash buffering inputs is a little like I noticed. I felt at first I mistook it for like latency or lag.
Right.
I was like, why? It's sort of like the most notable one was Donkey Kong. Someone would be in the middle of whiffing an attack, and I was charging his forward A, and they would have like enough time to do it because I was used to it going off really quickly. But I was like, oh no, like you gotta like buffer it like or it doesn't let you buffer it too soon anymore. It comes. I was like, oh crap, like this is different and stuff. So I noticed like for slower characters, it's a little harder to judge timing. It's taken a while to get used to, like for Bowser and Donkey Kong, and but King K. Rool, new character, love King K. Rool.
Sick.
Some fun stuff there, tossing the crown and it coming back, just like the cross from like Richter and Simon. Fun stuff there.
The gun is one of the most enjoyable things in the game.
The fact he puts on the pirate cap, he shoots the cannonball, but then he can suck people into the gun.
And he can, like, when you get the combo of you shoot the cannonball at somebody, it bounces off of them, you suck the cannonball back up, then you shoot it up at an angle and you hit them both times. Or somebody else with the upward shot is really, really good. Damiani, I'm really glad that you brought up the buffering thing because I think you kind of take that and then you take the lag online and it can feel, I don't know if it's a combination of those two things or it's primarily the lag or what, but there's just been this kind of overall sensation that I felt online where it's been really frustrating getting into a rhythm because there'll be times where I'm like, no, I did that. Like I did the things, I did the inputs, but it's not coming out in time, or I have to like completely change my timing just because the lag can be so consistently terrible.
There does feel, so regarding online, I spent like a lot of time online. I've tried out both Wi-Fi and wired connections. Even with a wired connection, for example, Sheik, very fast character, requires a lot of quick inputs to play effectively. It feels like there's like maybe a quarter second to a half a second, maybe in the worst case scenarios during like an average match of like input latency on top of everything else. And it just you know what it feels like? It feels like playing the game while I'm watching Elgato almost. Not quite as bad, but like there's that delay.
Yeah.
Like it's still playable, but everything's a little bit behind. And in a 4-player free-for-all, it's not the end of the world for me. Like I'm having a good time. But when it gets down to like one-on-one, even in those matches, or specifically get a one-on-one match, and you're having to fight that, it's just not fun at that point. It's just not fun because when you're doing 1v1, you're trying to win. Like you're not just like goofing off anymore. You want to win, and it's just a little frustrating when you know. Like, you wonder, are they having the same issue? Is it their connection and are they getting an advantage because of this? And they have the whole system of if you get DC'd in a match, even if it's an internet drop, too many of those will penalize you. So it'll punish rage quitters as well, but it'll punish normal people who have bad connections.
I think it's like a 20-minute.
Yeah, it's like a timeout essentially, like that. Yeah, there's been connectivity issues. I remember trying to just join quick matches, and I kept saying there was like, there's a communication error. It locked me out for like 5 minutes because it couldn't connect to the servers for some reason. the whole thing about the preferred matches, it doesn't usually pick your preferred match the more specific you get. Well, here's a funny thing, Ben. I wanted to do, the whole no item, stock, 1v1, and couldn't get into a match. So I had to do the background matchmaking thing, which will force it to find you one. You just got to wait while you do other stuff. And then later on, I wanted to do, I kept getting 4-player matches with that. When I wanted to do 4-player chaos, like, everyone's going to be playing 4-player free-for-all, it kept pitting me in 1v1 matches all of a sudden with no preferred off. It was like, then throwing me into 1v1 matches, like, wait, make up your mind. Like,
I feel like with background matches, I've even gotten 4-player free-for-all when I didn't want it either.
It's just unpredictable.
Yeah.
I think it's the best thing to say about it, and I hope they do something about it quickly. I don't necessarily have faith they will, but right now, in addition to any connectivity issues, which result in I had maybe a handful of matches out of probably the 100 online matches I've done that actually felt good. Like, no real latency issues. I had a good time, 1v1. It was legit. And then the rest had some degree of, I could tell. This is and it matters in a fighting game. That combined with the matchmaking issues and this is a paid service now.
Right.
It's it's not all on Smash. It is partially Smash's fault, but it's also partly Nintendo's infrastructure online service as well. So they're there's finger pointing at both these to be had.
Yeah, it's especially frustrating for me because I remember renting, because we didn't have any money as a child, renting Smash 64. And I remember just being so enthralled with what it was, and I couldn't believe that it existed. I couldn't believe Nintendo had a game where their own characters were fighting each other. Just through the roof excited, and I got really into it, and I loved things like breaking the targets and all that stuff. Then get a little bit older with Melee. It's not just me kind of living out my childhood fantasies. It's playing with friends. And that was a game that I think was just kind of a staple. You would have people over, I'd play Melee. But I didn't appreciate it on a competitive level. Just very casual, young kid playing with friends. I remember Brawl, and I remember them saying, you're going to have online Smash Brothers. And kind of again having that mind-blown moment that I had during Smash 64. And then, the very first match I played with Brawl, it was this is not going to work. This is unplayable. And it's just so frustrating because, Smash Ultimate feels like it's at the finish line for me, where I am having so much fun. I love it. I love trying out new characters. I love learning. I am ass at it, but I'm trying to appreciate it, and I'm enjoying the process of trying to dig in, of trying to learn, of trying to get better, and understand Smash in a way that I never did before. And it's just, I feel like that effort is a little oil and water with the online system at the moment. Because there are things I like about it. So there's Elite Smash, where as you fight and you rank up, you get points. Once you reach a certain threshold, you are part of the Elite Smash group, and you'll get a crown. And
cool.
It's just sort of an indication of
a ranked mode.
Kind of. It's just hey, you're a really good player, and you're going to play against other really good players.
Okay.
And so it's kind of rewarding that effort. It's kind of rewarding that grind, and I think that's a good idea. But then you're placing emphasis on these points, which is fine if you have the system to support it. But when you get into a match or you get into a 4-person free-for-all and you didn't want it, and you lose and you're like, man, the whole game lagged. Not saying that you would have won regardless, but I think just the inconsistency of the online kind of makes the process of getting or losing points really, really frustrating if that's something that you care about.
Yeah.
And no fighting game is going to be perfect, right? It's not like Smash Ultimate is the first online game with lag. It's just, for a game that feels so considerate and thought out and meticulous in a lot of other details, online just feels super basic in a way that, it feels basic and behind in ways that don't really make sense to me.
I'm getting PS2 vibes from you talking to me about this.
I don't know. I don't really know what to say about it. I just don't I don't understand.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for some kind of like competitive angle to this, to like to train or something like that, it's not where it needs to be by any stretch of the imagination. And most people are just going to use like quick match to like just jump in and do stuff, and they'll probably play for a little bit and then they'll stop. But the one thing I will give like a positive check to with the online is the battle arena options, creating your own lobbies. Like if you just have your friends and you make like a room just for your friends only, and you could like spectate, you join in the match, like you coin up and stuff like that. I had the best connections in battle arena for some reason. Yeah. And I think if you just want to play with your friends, like you can't all be together. Like Smash excels at being played together on the couch, essentially couch multiplayer. That is like the bread and butter of Smash Brothers multiplayer. But I do think if your friends are separated by distance stuff, that's not a possibility. And you're hearing about this, I would still say give the battle arena option a chance. Just set up a friends list only one and have your friends get on. I think it might work out a little bit better than trying to like play with randoms and stuff like that.
So I agree that playing with your friends in the battle arena is the best online experience, but even that has enough problems or things that I would like to see added that it drives me insane. So multiple times. So in the battle arena, there's the ring where two people are fighting. There's the line where like the loser goes off and then you go back to the back of the line and the next person in the line comes in and you fight. And then there's also stands where you can just spectate. The maximum number of people you can have in the lobby is 8, which feels a little low. And also, when you're doing Smash, it can, if you lose and you go back to the back of the line, it can take a while to go in. And so there are other games, right, where like in Guilty Gear, when you join a room, multiple people can be fighting at the same time. Yeah. And so like instead of just one ring for fighting, if you could have like 2 rings or even 3 rings and you could just get fights more consistently, I think that would really help a lot. Also, waiting in line, there'll be times I'm spectating and it'll just disconnect me randomly for no reason. But it doesn't disconnect me from the game, and my online is fine. My internet doesn't get interrupted. It'll just disconnect me from spectating, which is really, really bizarre. I haven't really had an issue with it disconnecting me from fights, but from spectating specifically, it's been bizarre. And so, yeah, it just feels super basic.
Yeah, they cut out a lot. There's a lot of negatives to it too. You're not gonna beat around the bush. They even nerfed the default spectate mode, not the one we're talking about, but there's an option when you go online to just spectate. And in previous iterations, you used to be able to go view like the best matches. You want to go watch like a great Zero match? It was probably like the top of the list there and like the top rated ones. You could bet on matches. Like there's the gold coin currency. It's still back. There is a shop to buy stuff in. That's all gone. It's not in there anymore. And I'm like, why? Why would you? That was so simple and easy to do. And for some reason, spectating in that mode, every match looks flawless and perfect. Like no one's having any problem either. I'm like, are these just recordings that they're playing for me? Or am I actually watching them live? I was like, I don't know about this. But yeah, that's a disappointment. That seems a simple, easy idea to just make you engage with online in some capacity. And it's just gone now. It's a strange decision.
I think the only reason I'm so hard on it, Damiani, is because I really do think this game is amazing. And like I said, like since I got access to Smash Ultimate, I haven't been able to stop playing it. Like there are games I need to be finishing just for GOTY discussions, and I just want to keep playing Smash because I'm having such a good time. And far more often than not, I have this huge dumb smile on my face than some minor annoyance. And I think the only reason why I'm being so vocal is, like I said, is it does so much right that these things are just standing out and kind of becoming mountains. Do you think, especially now that the Nintendo Online service is paid, do you think Nintendo will take control of this and actively work to make things better in a timely fashion?
I'm leaning towards no. They did announce they have a patch coming out next week, version 1.2. I saw some people assuming it's like balance updates, but They mentioned something about like previous archives not working, so I wonder if it's like a significant change to how things work. But whether or not that's going to try and address any kind of online, like, hey, we're going to fix the algorithm for matchmaking and stuff. Like, we're set to prioritize giving you what you asked for versus what it's doing now, which is prioritizing you getting into a match as fast as possible, no matter what it is. Are we going to prioritize, make an option for, like, we're going to identify if you're wired or wireless, and do you want to only play with wired people or something like that?
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
Or just seeing a signal strength bar by people, so you could like most other fighting games do.
What? How do you have a fighting game in 2018 where like you don't even get to see signal strength and decide if you want to go through with the match?
And you should not be. There should be a chance before to drop out.
That's insane.
Yeah, you can't even drop out right now. It's just like, I'm getting screwed. Why? You know, let me drop out. You know, they have a bad connection. I want to refuse doing this match before it begins. Right. Another thing they definitely needed to do and stop penalizing people for is if you're doing a stock match and you get eliminated, let that person drop. They're done. Like, why do they need to sit there and watch the rest of the match? Like, who cares? Like in Fortnite, you can still spectate and watch the end, or any online game that's normal. You back out to the lobby or keep watching. Like, why can't you back out to a lobby and just try and get a new match? They're like, no, if you do that, you're penalized. It's like, okay, Nintendo, sure, fine. There's no bad sportsmanship about that, leaving a match after you've lost. It's like, don't get that at all.
That Smash Talk went on for a long time.
It's a big game.
It's a big game. Yeah, Brad, I'm sorry that...
oh, man, it's okay. I haven't spent a lot of time with it anyway, so...
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I was telling Brad this before the show. Has not spent a lot of time with the game. Comes into the Easy 8 tournament, just cleans up. I
got lucky that day. Just
Ultima Brad, man. What can you do? Brad, talk to me about Ashen.
Ashen. So it is a brand new, I guess it's been around for a while, but officially out now, a Souls-like game. Seems a lot of games are like that nowadays, you know?
Yeah.
Following that Souls formula, it totally does, you know? Got your Estus flask, your chugging stuff.
It's either a Souls-like game or the comparisons to Dark Souls are so rampant that, like, just everything is Dark Souls.
Right. Dark Souls is great, too.
Dark Souls is great, yes.
But nothing is usually as good as Dark Souls.
Yes.
And I like Ashen, but it's not as good. But it does some things different, which I like. So it's your typical, like, what do you expect? You're in a hub area. But with this now, you can do side quests. There's quests to do. There's NPCs to talk to that will join you on your quest, like follow you through an area, Ben.
That's cool. That sounds like some code vein.
Yeah, you like unlock your bonfire kind of thing or your town. Then there's NPCs in the town. And they have side quests. You can do a side quest for them and go through it and get like stuff to help you. I've only played about 2 hours, so I don't know everything about this game yet.
Sure.
But it seems like the NPCs that you have can level up with you also, so you could perhaps strengthen them. I believe it has online co-op also. I think they said it's something around like Journey. I could be totally wrong like this, but like a player will randomly come into your world. I haven't ran into that yet though, so I don't know. I'm playing online, but I don't know how it works all yet. Combat is fine, a little stiff, not super fluid I feel like, but it's fine, it's serviceable. It has a really interesting look. It's weird. No one has any faces in this game. I don't know why they did that, but it's artistic choice, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Sure.
It looks a little different. It doesn't look like Dark Souls graphically, which I really appreciate. It's more like cel-shaded kind of thing like that. I did one dungeon, just kind of like went through a little, like, it reminded me like a little tiny like Zelda tutorial dungeon, just kind of like a little thing you're going through. There's a little boss, and then I was like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know how expansive this thing kind of goes like that. I haven't been to a new zone yet, so I'm not sure how it goes. But so far, it seems pretty good. I'm looking forward to keep playing, but I hope it does something another thing that I will see unexpected to kind of distance itself from Soul, I would guess.
Yeah, Brad, I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
The first is, you're bringing these NPCs with you. Do you feel like they're actually useful?
Yeah, they're actually good in combat. So when you're in combat, when you die or whatever, you get knocked down, but they could pick you back up and help you in the fight. You could do that to them vice versa, or like you can do that to them also. So it seems like they do pretty good damage. Their AI is like okay. Like if you have a quest, they'll kind of like sometimes lead you towards it.
Gotcha.
But if you're like, let's say you're trying to do something and you forget to change your quest, they'll just kind of like go off and do their own kind of thing. I was really confused for a bit. Then once I said it to that, I was like, oh, okay, I understand it. But yeah.
Brad, when you started talking about other Souls-like games, I feel like when you said none of them do it better, I had this moment where I'm like, yeah, I completely agree. And just trying out a bunch of different Souls-likes, and even the ones that like I stuck to or had to review, like Neo, which is a game I do think very fondly of.
Right.
But it just doesn't... It hasn't had that kind of like strong, lasting effect I think that the Souls series has. And I was trying to wonder why that is. And I think it really was for both Bloodborne and the Souls series. I think it comes down to the world because when I play those games, you go through this too, and I think Huber goes through it as well. When I'm done, I'm so hungry for more information. I want to go in. I want to find out more. I want to learn more. I want to talk about it. I want to read about things. And these other games, it's not that they necessarily have bad worlds, but they're just not like quite as enchanting, it feels like.
Right. Like this game definitely puts in the effort of having a story, which I really appreciate. I don't know a ton about it yet, but they're putting in the effort with like dialogue, characters you can talk to. They're definitely like laying it out there. Nothing seems cryptic necessarily that I'm aware of yet.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, what does this really mean kind of thing. One thing I want to bring up, I forgot to bring up, I think is cool or different is I don't think you level up traditionally in this game. So I've gone through the world and I found permanent stat upgrades. So I found something that gave me like +2 to stamina or something like that. There hasn't been anything where I can level up. It's a cool idea. I always love games that encourage you to explore and find out like all your surroundings. So I think it's a really cool idea to get players to actually actively want to explore their world.
Yeah.
But I hope it doesn't get to a point where I feel annoyed by doing it.
Sure. How are the character build variety, I guess?
I haven't seen any variety yet necessarily. Like there's different weapons, so you
don't pick a class at the start?
No.
Okay.
So you could like have different like one-hander weapons or two-hander weapons and stuff like that. I haven't seen anything like magic yet. I don't know if it's in the game, but I haven't seen it yet or anything like that.
Gotcha.
You just like design the way your character looks when you start, and that's about it.
Damiani, I feel like you, out of all of the allies, I would argue, you probably have had the most interesting history with the Souls series, where I feel like you played Dark Souls later on, kind of after the initial like rush of excitement, and then I feel like you've kind of very carefully chosen what Souls games you play and when after that. Would you say that that's an accurate description?
Oh yeah, I definitely played Dark Souls well after the initial craze. But I played Bloodborne at like release, like when it came out. For whatever reason, that one just drew me more into its world.
Yeah.
And ahead of time, I was just more excited about it.
For sure.
And that definitely, did its job for me. It's interesting because you're speaking when we brought this up, I had to look it up. I think I did play Ashen at E3. I went to the appointment for it. The no face thing. It was like, oh yeah, they're like kind of blocky-ish looking. It's like it almost looks indie-ish, I would say. Not like a knock against indie, but like it has a more unique aesthetic than going from like an ultra realistic. And I remember the whole thing about like you picked up different weapons and stuff versus having like a build. But yeah, it was like a field area with some enemies, and then like a cave, and then there was an NPC who was walking around with me, and I remember it being like, it felt like a Souls game, and I was having a good time. It was just they didn't have any of the other stuff implemented, like no co-op, like online co-op or anything like that. It was just like a basic area to go around and stuff, and I found it intriguing. I had a good time with it. It was 15-minute session though. So how much are you really going to get out of that?
Right. I would say sorry. One thing about this game is
go for it.
I don't have a problem with the game doing anything like games like copying this kind of formula and everything like that. And that's totally fine. I'm having a good time playing this game. I'm enjoying myself.
Right.
I just don't know. I haven't seen an outside party like be up to that level of what they're kind of like imitating or taking influence from. And I just wonder how long it'll take for us to get to that level.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like the last 2 years specifically, when we've gone to PSX or E3 or any other event, I do feel like we're playing one or two games where kind of the initial response is, oh yeah, this is taking a lot of mechanics from Souls. And I feel like every time I kind of walk away with like a satisfied feeling.
Yeah.
Not like, oh my god, I'm hyped through the roof, but like, oh, that was cool because I think those ideas and those mechanics are inherently satisfying in a way.
Right.
Like it's fun to know there's a lot on the line. There's a lot you could lose in terms of souls or experience or whatever. It's fun to go up against boss fights that are really grueling and difficult. But I also think about like Metroidvania, where like on a basic level, I just enjoy the concept of going around a map and filling things out and getting more items and uncovering areas. But kind of like with Souls-likes, I feel like there are many Metroidvanias that I just kind of bounce off, and it is very rare for one to kind of pierce through and it's like, oh my god, I need to finish this. I need to see everything. Like Hollow Knight was that for me.
Yeah,
totally.
And there's this X factor where it's like, when you kind of talk about the mechanics and the things that Hollow Knight is doing, it's not that that stuff is not special. It is, but what really makes it sing for me is the consistency of the presentation, the music, the thought that goes behind not only its world, but how like Hollow Knight starts in kind of this like abandoned town and you get progressively weirder and you just sort of have this sensation that you're going on a journey. And I think about Bloodborne and how crazy that gets, and it's kind of the same thing. And so for me, that is what a lot of these games are lacking. And I'm not saying Ashen is like this. I know I haven't played it. But it's sort of lacking this, like, it's not just, the best games don't just feel like good mechanics with a story and then they're fused together. It's like it all is kind of one whole big concept where it's like, this is the world that we want to create. This is how we're going to give you the feeling of that world through the fights, where like everything just feels so meticulously placed. I don't know.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Ben. I mean, I think you hit it right on the head there. That's what separates games that want to be
right,
games that do it right. I mean, even Bloodborne and the Souls games, from what I've played, wouldn't be nearly as praised and good as they are revered now if it wasn't for like their actual environmental designs.
right.
Like, they're so integral to everything else about that game, and they're so expertly crafted, with a lot of thought put behind their intent, to like drive the player to like what options they're going to do there and what they're going to experience through it. And same thing with like Hollow Knight, like going through that, it was like very clear that how long they spent on that game, it came through with that design. Yeah. Whereas games like that would be like the one thing I would get at for Ashen. Again, like you're playing it now. I only tried it at E3. That was on my mind, is that, oh, this is neat and it's taking inspiration, but this is like a lot of, to me, it was like open environments and caves in a town, and I just thought, is this open environment style really gonna cut it for this? Like, they're asking for, that's a tall ask to do like a huge open like environment like that versus a Metroidvania style where it's like kind of like structured, like a castle, whatever environment like that, versus just like the world. Here's like the outdoors, the great outdoors. And it just seemed like it was going to run the risk of, there wasn't necessarily like a lot of purpose behind every area. It was just there for the sake of explore it, and that was like my big concern.
It's also a lot easier than a Souls game too.
Interesting.
So if you're like into the idea of a Souls game, but you're a little intimidated by the difficulty, I think this would be a good place to start. Pretty easy. Guys don't hit that hard. You got a companion backing you up the whole time. Probably like a good entry if you're kind of considering diving in and you're scared of the difficulty or whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, I do like the game. I'm having fun. I'm looking forward to seeing more. I've only scratched the surface, so who knows how things will come around.
Sure.
But yeah, looking forward to playing more.
Cool.
Nice.
Damiani, there was an unexpected stream that you did not too long ago. Out of nowhere, you were dancing in the moonlight with Persona 3. And I like the way that you did that stream. Kind of kept it mysterious out of nowhere. And then you got into it. How is Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight? I've played a little bit of Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, but not Dancing in Moonlight.
Wait, it's perfect?
I feel like that's like the perfect thing for like between Ben and me there, because I personally gravitate towards Persona 3 the most. It was my first, I mean, it's probably like the whole first love thing. My first Persona was Persona 3 Portable, and just loved it and stuff. And it's still my favorite to this day. You know,
Persona 3 is a good ass game.
And
it is.
seeing that they made it into a rhythm game. I mean, I saw Persona 4, the Persona 4 Dancing All Night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Persona 4 Dancing All Night.
Yep.
Yep.
Here we're gonna go with the titles and stuff. We're gonna get them all wrong. And I know what I was getting into, but I love the music of Persona 3, and I was kind of curious. I'm like, you know what? I didn't touch the last one. I'm curious what this is like. And the big contributing factor to this, Ben, got to be honest here. Amazon had a huge price error.
Sure.
For the collector's edition, whatever, that came also with P4 Dancing. So I have that as well digitally. I haven't tried that out yet. So yeah, I just held on to the order. I'm like, man, this is so cheap. I'll just take it. You know, it's cool. Yeah. And then I got it. I'm like, you know what? I should at least try this out. Like, if I got it in my hands, this is the greatest chance I'm actually going to be motivated to try this. Let's put it in the PS4 and go. It's how big of an ask is this really? Like, it's not that hard of an investment. And I say I was very pleasantly surprised with this.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I love the premise of it. It's pretty cool. They kind of try and take like the social rank stuff. They have social events with the characters as you play more songs and you do better in the songs. You basically have your primary dancer, one of the characters from the game, and then you have like the partners who will join you as well. And as long as you like do well with your partner dances, it will increase your social rank with them. And at each new rank, you have to meet certain conditions. It's not just straight up play with them, but like they'll tell you in the social area what you need to do to unlock each new rank. You get a cutscene, you get more story and like interaction between the characters. Some Q&A, like you get to like answer questions stuff. They even had a thing where someone impersonated voices of the teachers from the game and they're asking you the questions and did the little correct answer noise. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, it's great, but at the same time I was like, oh my gosh, no, not now. So they have that for people who are interested in it, and I found it enjoyable. But the actual like the remixes for the music, more often than not, I really like them.
Yes.
There were like one or two that were, I was like, this isn't the best. There was like a really heavy drum beat version of one of the songs that, like, chat warned me, like, oh, this is the worst song, Damiani. And when I played, I was like, oof, what were they thinking with this one? But for the most part, yeah, really good. And it's an interesting presentation for the actual game mechanics. Mm-hmm. So I'm used to, like, either DDR vertical scrolling or stuff bouncing around on screen, but this was clearly made with the PlayStation Vita in mind.
Yes.
Like a handheld.
Yes,
because
it was.
In the nutshell, there are 3 markers on the outside of the screen, the left and right side of the screen, and these notes, these symbols fly out to each of those 6 spots. And when you're playing on a TV screen of any decent size, your peripheral vision, like, it's not in focus anymore. That's why those most rhythm games keep it in the center. This is on the sides because they're thinking, oh, you're looking at a small portable, you can see the whole screen. That is the one biggest detriment to this game, is that it's really hard to keep track of everything playing it on a normal TV screen or monitor.
Yes.
Which is a little bit unfortunate because other than that, it's like a really cool concept, and I really liked what they were doing. Like the basic notes, the holds, the scratches is the unique thing because they're optional, but they can increase your combos, trigger bonuses as well. You gotta like build up enough fever meter to trigger like a special dance with your partner, which is also needed to unlock more social ranks.
Which is a pretty hype moment.
But the default option for it, Ben, we were talking about this earlier. Is questionable how they make you want to do the scratches, because it's using your thumbs, which are trying to hit the face buttons, to also do the scratching, and there's like, it's just not
on the PS4 touchpad.
Yeah, the touchpad, it's just not doable.
Oh,
yeah. And then some of the people who play the game were very kind and told me, oh, there's an option to change it to the trigger buttons.
Right.
Totally changes the experience, like way better. So if you're gonna try it out, please go to the options, change it. Unless you really like the touchpad stuff, if you're that dexterous and not like me, who's like kind of like a bumbling idiot sometimes with that stuff. But if for those who want to try it a different way, I highly recommend it. And yeah, just like the other small thing, Ben.
Yeah,
they do give you the option to go back and rewatch it with like a clean HUD or perfect inputs, so you can enjoy the spectacle of the dances. Right. But when you're playing it on the first time, you see like none of that's really being registered. I'm like, there's something cool going on right now, and I'm missing it, aren't I?
Yeah, kind of the curse of rhythm games.
Yeah.
Man, Damiani, I'm so conflicted because I reviewed Persona 4 Dancing All Night, and I remember going into that game, like the announcement that they were making a Persona 4 dancing game was pretty wild and exciting to me. It was just a direction that I wasn't expecting, and I really liked rhythm games. And the fact, and I appreciated that they did this with Persona 4 Arena as well, where they're like, we're gonna have a story mode. We're gonna take these characters and we're gonna tell a story within this universe. And I ended up walking away really enjoying it, primarily for the concept and to just get some more time with these characters. I don't think the rhythm game was ever the most amazing aspect of it. Just for me personally, I don't think I could sit here and say like it's actually bad. But what always threw me off is I prefer, I think, having something be like vertical and on the center of the screen. It's easier for me to focus. It's just when you have like multiple notes and very thin lines, especially when you get to harder difficulties and the thin lines are stacked up on top of each other and you're pushing outward, I feel like there's just a lot of times where it's hard to parse what actual note is going here when. And I think when you blow that up and you're not on a Vita anymore and you blow that up to a television and like you kind of feel like you're staring at this hole and it's going outward and you have to be like, okay, what's going on when? I didn't enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed other rhythm games, and it didn't feel as natural to me as other rhythm games. And like the concept just isn't kind of as wild and exciting anymore. And so while I think there's a lot of love in this, I love what they've done with their outfits. And I agree with you that a lot of the remixes are amazing. It's just not something like I feel like I'm as excited to play.
I can see that point because this is my first time diving into it. I'm having that honeymoon phase with it. I can see if this was second or third time going into this, it's gonna lose that potency,
right? And
you're gonna start to see the cracks, for what they really are. And that I agree with everything you just said there. I should have did a preface. I played mostly on easy because I'm really bad at rhythm games. I did a few on normal. I tried one on hard, and it started to introduce like diagonal stuff and like half stuff. I was like, nope. I was like, you can't do this. But even like on normal, it starts to. I favor the vertical, like DDR. Like I can do harder stuff on DDR.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also only like 4 inputs, versus like 6. But even something like the Leap Beat Agents Oidon for DS.
Man,
like that game, same thing. Like it goes across the screen, but it followed a better rhythm to me, and I could follow it more easily than I could Persona 3 Dancing Moonlight.
Damiani, I haven't thought about Elite Beat Agents in so long. That game is rad, man.
Oh, yeah.
I have not played Elite Beat Agents in years.
It's a fun game, yeah.
It's a fun game. Brad.
Yeah.
You are a Persona fan.
True.
You want to dance?
I danced in all night with 4.
Yeah.
I completed all that. I think I talked to you about it, and I asked you if there's a story mode.
Yeah.
And you're like, not like P4.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I might be out then.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's fine to me. It's just like a goofy dance or like rhythm game, which is totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to dedicate time to playing it right now or if I want to. How much is it? Like $40 or whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't know if I want to spend like full price on it necessarily right now. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure, absolutely. I'm also realizing. I don't like it. I think most of the time when games come out with multiple versions of a thing. Like the fact that Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight and Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight are out at the same time. It's like, okay, I want to play one of these. Which one do I choose? It can just feel like a lot to process. And it's like, I kind of want to have both of these things at the same time. I also just end up feeling, I don't know if overwhelmed is the right term, but I think Fire Emblem Fates ended up feeling that way to me too, where it's just like, man, there's a lot here, and they're different, and they're both doing different things at the same time, and I kind of want both of those things, but I have to choose, and it just ends up, it's like a divided experience when I think a lot of times when I'm playing a game, it's just like, okay, I'm playing this game. This is what it wants to show me. I don't have to go out of this game to see that other stuff. I'm not saying that the concept is inherently bad. I just find that for myself personally, I tend to not be able to stay invested for multiple versions of the same game.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know.
Could have benefited from mixing all of them together, essentially, like putting them like all in one.
That was what's fun about Arena too.
Because I think it's one of the DLC options. Because I got it with the Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight. One of the last songs is a catchy is in there, and I was like, well, okay. And chat's like, oh yeah, that's a DLC song. I'm like, why wouldn't they just like do this
catchy,
by default? You know, why wouldn't they just like have them all dancing, mix and match? You know, it's a spin-off game. Go crazy, have fun. I don't think you needed 3 separate games at this point. I think these two probably could have released a special edition that was 4, 3, and 5 together in one package, which is what I got, but one game. You don't need like it's a digital code and 2 separate discs. It's like put it all into one game.
I mean, they're all in the Q games already. They're together in those.
Yeah, and Arena.
Yeah.
Because one of the best parts for me about Arena was seeing those characters interact, and it's like, okay, you're obviously not going to get this in a mainline entry, and so kind of getting that ridiculous banner, that it felt like really cool fan servicey fun, and so to separate them, it's like, oh, it's great. I get more of the characters I love in 3 and 5, but I've seen them interact before. I've seen them have these tones of conversations. But yeah, it's not a bad thing. I'm just not like...
No, of course not.
Pumped about it.
Yeah, there's just other stuff I'd rather play at the moment. Right. But nothing against the game at all.
It's a crowded time. Damiani, I want you to talk to me about something goofy that you've done that I didn't know that you had done until I'd asked you. You've been playing some mods for Final Fantasy 15.
Oh, yeah. So Final Fantasy 15 Windows Edition, PC version, has official mod support. What you do is like any Steam mod page, you just go to like the Steam area of it. And when I went there, I was like, I don't know what I expect. I think the most I expected was like a lightning outfit. And I go there and go down the rabbit hole of should have expected this. Almost anything and everything you could think of is at your fingertips in terms of like character models and character outfits. So there's 2 types. There are ones that completely replace the character model with something else, and then there are the gear mods. So it retains the same character model, but it looks like they're wearing different gear sets, which those look a little bit better than straight up model replacements.
Well, of course, yeah.
But you get a little bit more crazy. And to start, when I rolled out first, I had Thomas the Tank Engine in my party.
In your party?
Yes. One of the characters replaced with Thomas Tank Engine. One was I became 2B. I had Pascal as one of my party members, and Shrek. And we were just rolling across this guy.
Is Shrek like one of the things that is most immediately modded into any game?
Absolutely.
At this point,
like
yes.
I have to think so.
Of course. It was like Death Thomas Tank Engine because like it had like no eyes, like it was like dead. So it was a little creepy looking.
So, man, this sounds pretty darn enticing.
It was. I did a fight with them, and Thomas Tank Engine just like rolling over people, and then in the victory thing when they're like doing telling the experience, it just like photo bombs in the back, just like slowly rolls
so good.
through. And I'm like, all right, we've hit the jackpot here. I became Sora from Kingdom Hearts 3 looking. Looked really good. Had Donald join me. Goofy.
Do they change the sounds for these characters too?
So no, they do. The voices aren't changed. I don't know if there's a way to change them, and I missed that. But they're still using, which makes it even the more funny because you see Sora talking like Noctis, and he's talking to Ignis, and he's just like, like Noct, you should consider camping for now, and it's like in Goofy, and it's like Goofy's mouth moving with Ignis's voice, and it's just like, yeah, this is great. And Donald's great because they have to keep the proportions, so they can't make so
he's huge.
No, instead of making Donald huge, they gave him this mech outfit with like long legs, and he's like so piloting it, like he's sitting down piloting it, and it looks like it's believable. It looks like a gummy ship like mech.
That's so rad.
I think I would be most excited to mod in a new model for Ignis because he just has those moments where he's like thinking about a new recipe, and oh man, like. There's so many characters you could do where that would be hilarious.
Guy Fieri, dude.
Yeah.
As Ignis, dude.
Oh,
yeah, Brad.
Cooking new stuff.
Gotta
Oh my
get that
god.
in there. Going in the car, driving around as the Kingdom Hearts crew.
Yeah.
Played some Kingdom Hearts music instead.
Can you mod the car?
I have not seen any mods for the car yet.
Okay.
Maybe there are, and I missed those, but haven't seen that yet. It's strictly to the characters, but you can modify other characters. So, best part, got to the Bay town where you're supposed to, like, we first meet Arden for the first time.
Yeah.
And I changed Arden. And Arden showed up as Jafar. And it was perfect.
That sounds perfect.
That's good,
It was like, oh my gosh. Like, the voice matched and everything. I was like, this is good. You changed I think we changed one of the characters to Aqua for Kingdom Hearts as well.
Nice.
We didn't get far enough to see the little sister becomes Kyrie later on.
Oh man, it's
Would
so
have been
funny.
hilarious. But yeah, we had we had 2B.
Kyrie is the perfect replacement for that.
We had the weapons, so we had like the Yorha blades and stuff like that were
That's
available.
cool, yeah.
I became the Xenoblade 2 cast. I had like Nia, had Rex, I had Pyra, I had Mithra, and
Wait. Was it like
their anime style, yes.
Okay. It wasn't like
it was their models from the game.
15 realistic.
No, it was their models from the game running around like,
Okay.
Just like you expect. And you could give them Monado, give them all like their blades and stuff. And there were anime versions of the main characters that just changed their faces to look like anime style.
Okay.
So, but then they had some cooler ones that looked more practical. You can change their outfits. So,
Did you stream this?
yes, I
Okay,
did.
I'll have to
You
watch that
take
stream.
it. So, like, they had like the Final Fantasy Type 0 outfits. So, like the capes and everything. There's one that gave Prompto the Vanquish suit, which looked amazing. I made Ignis.
I want the visor to pop open though, and it's still Prompto's face.
Yeah.
I had Ignis become the Flash. I had Noctis become Batman Beyond outfit.
Nice.
It looked like super, like looked perfect and stuff because I was like, this is really good. Yeah, we rolled around.
Can you
this
make
DC
Prompto smoke? Like in the Vanquish?
I didn't see anything
Okay.
like that. But yeah, rolling around as DC superheroes was pretty fun as
Nice.
well. Just doing that. And yeah, so you can mod the weapons, the gear, and the models, and you can go nuts with that. And it's just goofy to see that
Yeah,
stuff
it's awesome.
in action, you know.
The only thing that I would worry about, Damian, with those mods is like combat in that game can get pretty frantic. You've got a lot of effects going off. You've got you've got your character warping all over the place. You've got team up attacks, and so were there any visual issues, any glitches, any of that sort?
Like Shrek. Like they did like vector like glitches where like the arms would like stretch Armstrong style because
amazing.
they
Yeah.
couldn't keep up. But
that probably only enhances
But
it.
the Kingdom
Yeah.
Hearts stuff didn't look so bad.
Oh.
I think Goofy was the only weird one. Like the ears sometimes stretched wrong. But I gave like Sora. Give Noctis all the Keyblades, so he's changing between Keyblades. I was like, this is probably Kingdom Hearts 3 battle. It's Kingdom Hearts 3 combat right here, baby. It's like, you know, swinging Keyblades, warp striking as a Sora here. It's pretty fun
Yep.
Sounds like a good
for a
time.
while.
Can live my Chrono Trigger sequel fantasies.
Are there? Oh, they're not chrono mods. I'm sure.
I didn't see any Chrono mods.
Put 'em in.
So this is I went to the official Steam Works page.
Yeah.
There are other places to get stuff. Like I immediately went to go find Goku, Dragon Ball Z stuff.
Right.
And there's nothing on there because Square Enix will remove any of that
Sure.
Yo,
immediately.
All Might.
But there are My Hero,
Gladio
Dragon
is
Ball,
All Might.
Gladios
Naruto.
All Might would
Yeah.
be the best
You
thing
just have
ever.
to get them from other places. They do exist. So I bet you there probably is a Chrono
Cool.
something
Sick.
somewhere.
I want Frog.
Yeah, I didn't play through the Final Fantasy 15 DLC, and I
Same.
don't know if I want to go through the whole main game again, but doing that on the PC version and just messing around with the mod sounds like a really good time, Damiani. What was your favorite of the mods? Is it the Kingdom Hearts because of the lack of issues?
Because it looks so good.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, this looks legit and stuff. You know, where's the Kingdom Hearts crossover event? I mean, the Xenoblade 2 stuff looked like the most out of place, but they still looked like they should, which was kind of like funny to see. Pascal looked really good, I would say. It's fit tonally with the game's environments and aesthetic. And I was like, yo, you know, this, you know, can I get Raiden, you know, Revengeance in here? That was like the next
Raiden.
step.
So
It's like
funny.
this didn't
Raiden would, like with that style of combat, Raiden would fit right
that'd be
in.
so hype.
Yeah.
Let's play 15 forever now.
Okay. I'm probably just going to keep playing Smash.
Yo, just mod Smash.
Smash into 15, yeah.
Da 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 da.
Yeah.
That should be the battle music, man.
Yeah, you probably could, dude.
Da 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 da. Da da da. Okay, Brad, you had the privilege of reviewing a beautiful game
Oh, yeah.
called Gris.
Yeah, it was a beautiful
That's
game.
the correct pronunciation, right?
I believe so.
All right.
I went to Bloodworth said that, so I will stick with Bloodworth on that.
That's a good rule of thumb.
Always follow Bloodworth.
Brad, we were talking about it before, and you were like, man, it's kind of a hard game to talk about because you don't want to ruin anything, and there's not really a story.
Yeah, there's like a story. It's like your own kind of interpretation kind of thing.
Sure.
It's a weird game. There's no dialogue. There's no text. There's no enemies. There's none of that. You can't die or anything like that. It's just kind of like going. It reminds me of like Journey, kind of. It's like a light Journey, I would say. Going through environments, 2D, obviously.
Without any co-op elements.
Correct. No co-ops. Just solving like low light puzzles here, little like platforming stuff here and there. It's a game that's more about like just kind of like soaking up the vibe, going through the journey instead of being like, oh man, like this platforming part's super hard. I'm gonna die on here 100 times, something like that. It's just like much more of like a chill game where the main focal point is the art style and the music.
Okay. Obviously, watching those trailers, it's a game that does so well in a trailer because of how beautiful it looks.
Yeah, it looks great.
Is that something where sometimes I worry, I guess, when that's the primary appeal, if that gets old over time and if like the game around it can't really support how beautiful it looks, where like you need more than just pretty stuff to look at, I feel like, after a while.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the stuff you do, I feel like is entertaining enough to like keep you engaged. I didn't ever really reach a point in this game. It's a strong point to it is it's not super long either.
Sure.
It's probably like 3 hours,
Okay.
something like that. So it's a pretty chill experience just going through. I feel like levels don't drag too long. They add enough stuff to keep you kind of interested going, like changing little things here and there, stuff like that.
Okay. As far as controlling your character, did it feel like smooth in the sense that I feel like you have this small character kind of going through these beautiful, huge environments, and you would want that to be kind of as majestic as what you're looking at on screen? Do those two concepts kind of line up pretty well?
Yeah, I would say it does. It felt very good just moving through the game.
Nice.
I never felt like not in control or something like that. It felt like really smooth. The fluid or the motion of it were really good. It does really cool stuff. It like zooms in closer to you at some parts so you can really get an idea. But when you get to a bigger part, it'll zoom out, giving you a big scope kind of thing like that. But it's always easy to see what you're doing still. You never feel like, oh, I can't even see myself or something like that.
Gotcha. Is this a game that you would recommend people play? Is this a game that people need to play?
It depends what kind of... I mean, I don't know if it's a game you need to play. It's just like a game if you're in that kind of mood for something. Like if you're just looking to like kind of kick back, have like a nice relaxing kind of like emotional experience, I would say, yeah, give this game a shot.
Okay. So you would say that it is pretty emotional. Like by the end of it, you felt a connection to it.
Yeah, I would say like the music and the art or like really carries that, and like the music hitting at just the right moments or something like that, an emotional part, I would say they execute very good. Or very well.
Yeah, that's something that Journey did do so incredibly well.
I mean, I don't think it's as good as Journey, but I think it's good. I had a really good time going through it, and I think if you're into a game like that, you'll enjoy it also.
Yeah, I'm always in the mood for that kind of experience. It's hard for me to make these comparisons because I haven't played Gris yet. I intend to at some point, but I always enjoy. I feel like Rime or Journey, just kind of these visual delights that you can bask in for a little while, and there are enough surprises. Like Gris, I think what's most exciting to me about Gris, Brad, and why I'm struggling to come up with like good questions is because I don't know what to expect, and it sounds so abstract that you really can't pin that down without ruining the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you like what happens and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I feel like there are a lot of games, right, where we could sit here and be like, oh, it's like Dark Souls, or it's like this, or it's borrowing things from this, or it's a fantasy game. Whereas Gris, whatever trailers I watch, or whatever conversation I have with you, I'm going in and I don't know what to expect, and that's so exciting, I feel like.
It's fun. Yeah, I think if you're in the mood for a game like that, you'll have a really good time going through it.
Cool. Damiani, have you seen any of the trailers for Gris?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they featured it in a Switch presentation, and trailers I've definitely checked out the trailers. I was interested in it, just I had Smash coming up, so I didn't have time for it. And Yeah, it definitely struck a chord. You know, this is exactly what you said. The vibes, you know, like a journey, a rhyme, like that type of game. More like a visual, you know, game than a you know, story driven,
mechanic heavy.
Yep.
Yeah. But there's like definitely stuff to that. Like you get new abilities and stuff to like help you traverse this world and stuff like that.
Okay.
You can like turn your like dress that you're wearing into like a really heavy weight.
Gotcha.
Keep you blown away from stuff like that, or to go down underwater, you like a double jump and glide around and stuff like that.
I did not know that there were different
abilities.
abilities.
They add
That's
new
really
abilities to kind of like shake it up a bit.
Cool. Man, I'm kind of mad at Smash in a way, where
You just want to keep playing.
right. I was in this really good headspace where it's like GOTYs are coming up. I'm doing a pretty good job of picking away at my backlog when I can, and Smash just comes in like this wrecking ball, and I don't even care. Like, I don't even care. I really don't care. I just want to keep playing Smash. But we're at the part of the show where we're gonna introduce the new hotness.
Ooh.
So I've got something to tell you guys for the first time ever on a frame trap. Unless I guess it wasn't really framed this way in the first episode. Kind of. We're not doing a Hotake.
Excuse me?
We're not doing a caught in a frame trap.
What?
Whoa! What is this?
What?
We are now starting something new, assuming that you guys enjoy it and the audience enjoys it. For the holiday season,
Okay.
we are doing on Frame Trap the 2018 Game Fiesta. I was thinking about it, wanted to do something different for this weird episode of Frame Trap, and I thought to myself, what is Frame Trap really at its core? It's a celebration of games. It's us getting together, trying as best as we can to express our love of games. That's what it fundamentally is and what it should be. And so what I'm going to do for the first annual Game Fiesta is we're going to go through not all of, but I think the generations of video games that are most relevant to us.
Oh.
And we're going to talk about them. And we're going to discuss how we felt about them at the time, how we feel about them now. And unfortunately, due to FCC regulations, we do have to rank them. It's out of my hands.
Wow.
Didn't mean, I know it can be pointless ranking stuff, but they will actually shut down the podcast. We'll lose access to it if we don't rank it. And I've got a special surprise thrown in. There is an overlord of the 2018 Game Fiesta.
Is it Bloodworth?
It is Bloodworth.
It is? Yes.
He will be referred to as Emperor Bloodworth.
Okay, Emperor Blood.
Emperor Bloodworth has, before the show, given his own ranking of the different video game generations. We will compare our rankings with Emperor Bloodworth. I will talk to him, and maybe on the next show we can give an update on how he thinks things shook down. So at the very end, we will have Emperor Bloodworth to compare ourselves to. So before we get going, two things. The first is that the generations I selected, I didn't select anything before the NES because I want to have things that... It's not that those generations don't matter. That's not what I'm saying. Just what we can hopefully speak to...
Relate to more.
With a little bit more authority, what we've had more personal experience with. So what I have is I have the generations listed, and then I have some example games. I'm obviously going to be missing a ton. It's the point of these list of games is not to say every good game that came out in that generation. It's just to kind of give you a very rough idea of what those generations were about. But before we get into it, the first annual Game Fiesta is brought to you by a wonderful selection of sponsors. And we're going to talk about them right now. Our first sponsor is Greg, TheDarkKnight Kettering. Thank you, Greg. Next, we have Xotig, and I don't think you've heard this, Damiani. Might be relevant to you. Hi, allies. With the hype train for Final Fantasy XIV's Shadowbringers pulling out of the station, I wanted to send out an invite to any allies on the Mattias server or Greater Ether Data Center to join our free company or cross-world link shell. If you're on Mattias, search me up at Sophia Braxish. The spelling will be on the screen. On weeknights around 7 Central Time, and we'll have a cross-world private party finder with the password 2016. Whether you're just starting out in Eorzea or have been playing for years, let's get ready for Shadowbringers together.
My condolences to them.
Oh,
Because
Thank you, Xotig, for your sponsorship.
I feel like that's great.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they announced recently a major change in the game that's happening very soon.
How soon?
It's either at the expansion launch or 4.5. They're doing a world restructuring. Mattias will no longer be a part of the Aether data center. It's being moved to a new crystal.
Is it Aether, not Ether? My bad.
Everyone in game pronounces it Aether.
Okay.
Stick to the
game. Whatever.
Yeah.
They spelled it wrong, so now everyone calls it like at her because they're like, oh, that was the real spelling all along. Anyway, they're making a new data center for North America called Crystal.
Okay.
And Mattias will be moving over to that one along with a server called Balmung, which is the most populated server, but they are known for RP. So Crystal is now like going to be like the RP data center.
Wait. How hardcore do people RP in Final Fantasy XIV?
Well, on Balmung and Mattias became the unofficial secondary one because Balmung got so crowded they closed it off. You couldn't even pay to transfer it to it anymore for a while. But anyway, Balmung and Gilgamesh are the two biggest servers on Aether.
Okay.
And they have a huge raiding scene. And a lot of like static raid groups are comprised of those, and they're splitting them up now.
For a second, I thought you said rating, rating, and I was like, just a bunch of people getting together and rating stuff.
Yeah, so it's controversial, so that's why I'm in condolences. Like, it's sadly going to probably split up people because of this. Like, cross-world, like, link shell is an awesome thing. It only works on your data center, so they're going to have to get... Yeah, it's going to really mess with this
Are
stuff.
they going to do free transfers?
They're going to do a grace period, but like your house, you can't bring your house over. You're going to lose your house. You're going to lose your FC. You can't your guild. You can't bring your guild over with all its stats. You have to restart it. So
I do hope, Xotig, that you have been able to find some people to play with, though, in this time.
But that's awesome. That's really awesome.
That warms my heart, man. That's good vibes.
That's fantastic, though.
Our next sponsor is JoJo's Dent Co.
Nice.
Thank you, JoJo's Dent Co. Still a great name.
Yep.
Another cool name. Oh, yes. Cool. Great. Thank you, Ohyescoolgreat. After that, we've got Blue. And finally, for the regular sponsors, we've got Alex AI, SRPG enthusiast. Ooh. So every frame trap, he's been coming up with a new strategy role-playing game to suggest, Damiani.
Oh.
And this will be his last entry. He says, Alex says, tons of SRPG goodness awaiting us in 2019, but don't forget the classics. Which ones, you ask? Just rewatch the last 10 Frame Trap episodes for my recommendations. And finally, we have our mega sponsor, Jigar Bob Productions. Hey, everyone. This is my last month as mega sponsor for a while, so this will be my last game review. I very much enjoyed sharing my game thoughts with you, and huge thanks to Ben for allowing me to do that. It's been a pleasure, Jigar Bob. So without further ado, I'd like to talk about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. You ready?
I'm ready.
It's great. And review.
Nice. Man, thank you, sponsors.
Yeah, thank you to all of our sponsors.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate your continued support, and I hope all y'all have a great holiday season. All right, so we're going to talk about the different generations. We're going to start with, I've labeled them with letters for some reason.
Okay.
Gen A. Again, I didn't include all the systems for all the generations, but some heavy hitters I feel like from this: the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Master System. Some games that I've included to kind of light up your brain. Obviously, the Legend of Zelda, Mario 1 through 3, Mega Man 2, Castlevania 1 and 3. Left out 2 there for a reason.
Yep.
Wonder Boy 3, Phantasy Star, Sonic the Hedgehog. That is Generation A. Generation B, we've got the Genesis, Super Nintendo, TurboGrafx 16. Some choice games. It was hard coming up with a concise list on some of these. Streets of Rage series, the Golden Axe series, Gunstar Heroes, Phantasy Star 2 through 4, Super Metroid, Chrono Trigger, Earthbound, Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Link to the Past, Bonk, Ys Book 1 and 2. Final Fantasy 5 did not come out in North America during this time, but still Super Famicom. Final Fantasy 5 did not come out in North America during this time, but it's still counted. Gen C. We got the PlayStation, N64, and Saturn.
Ooh.
We got Final Fantasy 7, Ocarina of Time, Panzer Dragoon, Banjo-Kazooie, Metal Gear Solid, Tekken 1 through 3, Radiant Silvergun, Mario 64. Gen D, Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, and Xbox. God of War 1 and 2, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Remake, Halo, Onimusha, Panzer Dragoon Orta, Animal Crossing, Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, Sonic Adventure, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, House of the Dead, Jet Set Radio, Soul Calibur, Final Fantasy 10, 11, and 12, Shadow of the Colossus, Dragon Quest 8. Gen E, 2 more gens left, 360, PS3, and Wii. Got Mass Effect, Bioshock, Last of Us, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Skyward Sword, Halo 3, Portal, Gears of War, Skyrim, Metal Gear Solid 4, Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. Last generation, Wii U, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. I didn't include very much here because it's the current generation. Should be easy for us to talk about. Bloodborne, God of War, Spider-Man, Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Smash Ultimate, Persona 5, Witcher 3, Cuphead, and Bayonetta 2. So this is meant to be a feel-good segment, it honestly is. I want you to talk about your experience with video games from any generation that really stuck out to you, or how your thoughts on games kind of evolved over time as you got older.
Oh, sure. I'll start with the beginning. When we got the NES, I think I was 2.
Okay.
So I don't really remember getting it. I just remember playing games. But I remember when I got Zelda, the original Zelda. That's what really kickstarted everything for me, I would say. Like, I loved Mario and everything like that, but Zelda's like what really kind of drove me into games, I would say, like that. I don't remember asking about it, like getting it. My dad said apparently I asked for it from like a commercial, and
nice.
I don't remember that. But the NES, really kickstarted, I would say, everything. I loved playing Castlevania at my grandma's house. It'd freak me out. Yeah. Kind of spooky vibes, dude, when you're like a little kid, dude. It's spooky for me.
Okay.
But yeah, good times.
So, Brad, I want to stick on that Zelda thing for a second. You said that was what really kickstarted it for you. What do you think it was about those initial experiences with The Legend of Zelda?
I think when I played Zelda, I'd never played anything like that. Just kind of like a world where I could explore, and it was full of secrets and mystery. I didn't know a lot of stuff, just like discovering things on my own. I think that was a huge part, because I'm like, there was games like, you go around open world and stuff like that, but I never really played something at that time. That was like the first game I ever played that was like that.
Nice. Damiani, where did things kind of kickstart for you in terms of video games?
I think the first time I saw Nintendo, I've told the story a few times before. I was at a friend's house, and they asked me if I wanted to play Nintendo, and I didn't understand what they were asking. And when they showed me the controller, I thought it was remote control. I thought it was just like some kind of TV channel thing. I was like, okay, it's like some cartoon show thing. And then he's like, no, you use this to play the game. And like, it's obviously like a very early memory for me. Like it was like late 80s, like maybe 89 is when this happened, I think, around that time, like 89, 90. Like, so NES had been out for a while. I was like too old.
Yeah, I was like
I was too young to have like an NES when it like originally came out and stuff. But like, just trying to remember like the feeling of being explained the concept of a video game for the first time.
Yeah.
That just something so radically new that we take for granted now. Like, it seems like ingrained everywhere. Almost like thinking about like the internet when it first came out. Like, we're old enough to like remember that, I think, most of us. And it's kind of like the same thing. It was like this monumental revelation that, oh, this is cool. It's a new thing. It's like an awesome new thing. Like, didn't know this exists. Such a wonderful early experience that you don't get as much anymore, like of that magnitude. It's really, really hard to get as you get older. And it was Super Mario Brothers. and just like the concept of running and jumping, and very simple, and just a 2-button input with like moving around. Very I just remember I don't know how well I did, how far I got. Just remember this sense of awe and wonder of being able to do this, like something like interactive like that. And then when I finally got an NES later, the first game I got was Ghostbusters.
Which one? One or two?
The original one, first one.
I've never played
the one
NES
that's really
Ghostbusters.
hard. No kid should ever have to try and play
2
that
is hard
game.
as hell. I had it.
They're
Sucks.
both pretty hard for like a young
hard.
kid. But I got a lot of I kept getting a lot of the oddball games. I remember experiences like Akari Warriors came up, and this vertical shooter with 2 soldiers going through like a jungle style. Then you get in the tanks and stuff, and like the lettered weapons and stuff. My first introduction to that concept before even Contra. I was like, this is cool, power ups and stuff, like the notion of that. I mean, Contra, like a lot of games I had to play at other people's houses too. Like first experience with Contra, someone else's house. First experience with Metroid, someone else's house. No idea how to play that game. Like got to like first area, just went up and down. Like I have no idea what to do. Same thing with like even like Zelda, first experience at someone else's house and stuff. Getting to experience it with like friends and them like showing me how to play it and stuff. And like digging through manuals and all that to like how do you play this and stuff. Like, that was important back then. And it was just, but like for me, just a lot of non-first party, these like strange third party titles that just kept coming into our possession and stuff, and playing through those. Like several, I'm trying to remember, Rolling Thunder by a Tengen game, one of those weird cartridge looking ones. I had like that as well, and I was just like, these are so strange, but just so enthralling.
The first memory I have playing a game, like you said, I mean, I've said this several times, was playing Mega Man 2 on the NES. And, just, again, that sort of similar magical moment where it was like, I can move a character on the screen. Things didn't really start picking up for me until I got a Sega Nomad, which played Genesis games. Yeah. And so the NES was like kind of my introduction, but it wasn't the first video game system I had on my own, so I couldn't spend a ton of time with it. It was just going to the babysitter's house and playing it, or going to a friend's house and playing it. But with both kind of the 8-bit and the 16-bit era, with the age that I was in, there's a feeling that I miss from that time that you could never get back, but it is just not having anything to go on other than your own intuition and excitement.
Yep.
Like, because I had such a good experience with Mega Man, I just wanted everything Mega Man. I watched the cartoon and I loved it. When I got a Game Boy and found out there were Game Boy Mega Man games, I needed it. And just this feeling of, I didn't know what reviews were. I didn't have social media to go ask questions. Just kind of this very pure drive to just sort of find your own things that you loved and kind of take ownership over that stuff. And I feel like you can't really do that these days. Other opinions are going to come in and flood you. And, you talk about these oddball games, Damiani, and now I feel like there's sort of this not cult, what would you call it? There's this sort of fondness for being like, oh man, I got this NES game from my grandmother and it was terrible. And like, it's not a good game, but you still have this memory of it. There's still kind of this story built up around these games. And I feel like that doesn't happen in the same way anymore, where like if a game like that were to come out, it would just be dismissed. It would get like a 30 on Metacritic and people would forget about it. And that's kind of a shame. There's something kind of innocent and pure of being like, no, I'm going to play the Top Gun game because I really like that movie. I admire that simplicity of stuff.
Yeah, Ben, I just realized, besides just being like calling them oddball, a lot of the games I ended up getting for myself from my parents or grandparents was games based on shows or movies.
Right, exactly.
Ninja Turtles.
I
got Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Spent a lot of time in that game, like the Dick Tracy NES game, like stuff like that. Because I think to a lot of people at the time, like a game based on a show or movie, like made the most sense. That's probably what a kid would like. Versus like, what's this first party Nintendo? Like the first party, that doesn't even term probably anyone like used back then, like consumer wise.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird to think that maybe back then in like the late '80s, mid to late '80s, first party Nintendo stuff was not the mainstream like popular thing. It was the licensed stuff that like seemed to be what people gravitated towards, perhaps.
Brad, did you fall into any licensing traps like that, where you got a game just because you like Ninja Turtles or something?
I had the Ninja Turtles, the second one, which was the arcade port, so it was like the beat 'em up one, which was actually awesome back then. I had Ghostbusters 2 on Nintendo. It sucked. I hated it. It was so hard, dude. It's because there's this stupid levels you're in the cart and you have to do jumps.
Yeah.
And it was like BS, man. I hated it. One game that was like not based off anything. I had the Bible game, dude.
I had a Bible game on Genesis.
I had the Bible game. Like there's an AVGN episode about this Bible game I had, and I remember
the Doom one, right?
Oh no! It wasn't. It was a side scroll. It had like 3 different games, and it had like Noah's Ark, I think Moses, something with Moses, and like David and Goliath. But my dad like remembers me like struggling to find like an animal in Noah and just getting so upset, and he felt bad for me.
That's pretty funny.
But it was like a black cartridge, like one of those weird NES games.
Yeah, mine was like that too. It kind of reminded me. My memories of it are so vague, and I don't have it anymore. But it kind of reminded me of Dig Dug. You were like Moses or Noah or somebody, and you're like digging through the ground, and I think like rocks could smash you.
Dude.
I think it was like a top-down perspective. It was not a good game.
Yeah.
No. And getting weird things like Where's Waldo on Genesis.
Yeah.
Or Wheel of Fortune or Monopoly.
I actually lucked out. I didn't get a lot of bad NES games when I looked at my library when we were kids, man.
What was kind of curating that stuff for you?
I think my dad.
Nice.
I think my dad was just kind of on it. I think my dad would ask like clerks or whatever, like what was like the best games to kind of get. Like,
yeah,
I had Ninja Gaiden like 1 and 3. I had like a weird game, Clash of Demon Head, which I could never figure out as a kid like that. Just like weird, goofy games. I had Mario 1 and 3, but I was just like, my dad did pretty good, man. Like, nice. I knew a lot of kids that had like terrible NES games.
How did Ninja Gaiden treat you as a kid? I didn't encounter the original Ninja Gaiden.
I never beat it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I can't remember how far I got in the original ones, but yeah, it was hard, man.
So, a question. When I was a kid, the approach that I had to video games is a lot different than I had now, where, especially during the 8 and 16-bit eras, games would be so hard for me that I never had it in my mind like, oh, I need to finish this. That wasn't really my drive. I just enjoyed spending time with the games. So it would be like, okay, I get to play video games. I'll play for as long as I can. If I die and then get kicked back out to the menu, that's fine. I'm just along for the ride. What was your kind of, I guess, mentality with approaching games? Did you just play to have fun? Did you want to finish them?
Yeah.
Did you get frustrated and salty at games?
It was kind of like I could just play a game just to play a game.
Yeah.
You know, like I could just play Mario Brothers just like over and over again, like whatever. I definitely remember like making a mission to beat Zelda. I definitely remember trying to do that. I had to call the Nintendo hotline to like find out stuff because no one knew. Like my neighbor would come over, we'd try to figure it out. Like I had to beat that game.
Brad, I wrote a letter into Nintendo Power.
Oh, it's so awesome.
And it was about characters in Smash. I asked about Luigi and Jigglypuff for some reason. I don't know if it was like how to unlock them or what, but I remember. And they gave me like the nicest reply back. Nintendo Power was
I love
dope,
Nintendo Power.
Man. Demiani, were games frustrating for you as a kid?
I'm gonna say like I don't think I beat many games at all as a kid, like at that age, especially on like NES. And I think I agree with your mindset was, Ben, that it was more about just getting to play the game.
Yeah.
And it was a rare treat when a game was actually beaten. Like beating the original Super Mario Brothers was a big deal. And even like trying to beat it again was like seemed like a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
But there were just some games, a lot of the games that felt out of reach. It was more about, I know how to play this one level. I'm going to play it and stuff because I have a lot of fun doing it. And then I'll move on to this other game and I'll play this level over here and stuff. And it was just, I don't know. Yeah, it was more about like the enjoyment of going through these worlds and seeing that this realm of video games existed versus any kind of like compulsion or need to have to finish them. And certainly wasn't thinking any like critical capacity whatsoever. Too young. And I think later on though was when, especially if we're still talking about NES games, is when I cared a little bit more about, hey, I want to like finish this game. You know, The big one was like Zelda 2. That was like unforsaken.
Did you finish Zelda 2 as a kid?
No, so
that's amazing.
Originally, I played it like the best I could do is beat the first dungeon. That was like a huge deal for me, and even just reaching the second one was like the holy grail of like I've gone so far in this game. But it was so mysterious and like difficult. But when I got older as a teenager, and you know the advent of the internet had been around, and I discovered there's guides and stuff.
Yep.
Definitely looked up like the maps and stuff and how to do it. I was like, I'm gonna sit down and use these guides, and I'm gonna beat Zelda 2. I've never seen it ending. I haven't even seen halfway through this game. I want to like see how this goes. I remember like having those printouts and stuff, bring out the pages from the online like strategy guide, too. And just like had it in a folder the parents gave to me, and just I don't know how long it took, but I eventually did it, and it was like the coolest thing. Like I think. Nowadays, there might be like sometimes at some point there might have been a stigma or even like a knock against using a guide on like your first time to beat something. Yeah. Whereas back then it seemed like obvious thing to do. It felt good, and sometimes it felt like a necessity as well. That it was almost how the game was meant to be played. In some instances, like you needed this companion thing to help you along, and it made it way more enjoyable. And yeah, I wouldn't like trade that. I was like, you know. I would have still been lost in that game if I never had that.
There are some moments where I feel like you have them and you wish, and it's like kind of a moment, it feels like, for everybody, and for later generations you wish you could kind of bring them back in time to show them. I imagine like seeing Star Wars in the theater during its initial release was probably an amazing moment. What was that moment for me was playing Mario 64 for the first time. That is a moment I will never forget, because it wasn't like I knew Mario 64 was coming out and it was like, oh, hey, go here to play it. It was just being in a mall, you know, your mom is shopping and you go and you see this station. I think it was Sears. They had an N64 set up, and like going from I didn't know this existed to this is what video games are now. Like, just some of the most raw, like, that moment was more effective to me as a kid than any magic show that I saw. Like, controlling a character in a 3D space like that and seeing the environments and jumping through a painting, like, I feel bad. Like, Mario 64 is still an incredible game. It still holds up. That game is sweet if you go and you play it now. But I really wish I could take people back in time and kind of have them show them what I felt and what I saw, and just seeing that sharp transition from 2D to 3D like that was really magical. Damiani, were you a little bit more plugged in at that point? I mean, were you aware of Mario 64?
Very soon have you been, yeah. I'm very cognizant that I was more aware of Mario 64 and Nintendo 64 coming.
Yeah.
Around like maybe the mid 90s, like probably a year before, I had Nintendo Power subscriptions. I was actively reading them, and they were touting like Nintendo 64 was coming. Okay. And I also got sent those VHS tapes, those promo videos you can watch on YouTube, baby. All those famous ones. They sent one out for Nintendo 64. And I used to watch that once a day.
Dude.
Because
so
I thought those three people, they invited 3 kids to go to Nintendo to check out the Nintendo 64 and play like the games and stuff. They got to play Mario 64 and Pilot Wings, and they tease a bunch of other games coming. And I was like, those are the coolest kids in the world. Mm-hmm. I would watch that because you use the word magical, but there really isn't another way to put it. That experience at that young age,
right,
is that seeing games in 3D, especially games I'd been playing for 2D for so long. As a kid, like a few years seems like a lifetime to you, because it is like a lifetime to you. And then seeing it presented in like literally a whole new dimension, and just the possibilities that were being shown to me in these video clips, I just couldn't wait to get my hands on that. I was like, I need to play this. And I remember you said Sears. Mine was at Toys R Us.
Okay.
Like, these kiosks were they were everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Toys R Us was very important to my gaming life. Yeah.
And I remember
getting seeing the wall where you like get the slip.
Oh my god, the
slip
wall, yeah.
And then going to
taking it to the
the counter.
Rest in peace those days. Yeah, the kiosk, playing it for the first time. Things I remember just being dazzled by it, being holy crap, how do I walk in this? Like, how do I walk straight in this game?
Right.
I spent like my first 30 minutes were just learning to move around in 3D. It was such an experience and such a learning experience, but so wonderful to have. And I just remember very fondly playing through that game, all the different like worlds, the painting worlds to go through, and it was like being charmed by a spell, essentially.
Yeah.
And as we've gotten further away from that time period and as getting older, very few experiences have come, like, actually, I would say since the N64 PlayStation era, nothing has replicated that potency of that feeling, but I've gotten like morsels of it as time has gone on from other games. So this is like, to me, this generation was the last time I felt like, completely spellbound by games to this degree, because I think it was a combination of age, and not experienced so many things at that point. And it was like a first time that games were leaping from 2D to 3D. And it wasn't just Mario 64. I want to give shout outs to PlayStation and Kingsfield. This going around like in first person to these 3D environments. It was so hard.
You in Kingsfield as a kid?
No, I didn't get anywhere, but like just the fact that I could walk around and see these monsters, a skeleton come out, like exploring a castle in 3D, just was mind blowing. And those two experiences back to back pretty much cemented that I was like, I just want to keep playing these things. These are great.
Now we have the absolute privilege of, I feel like, getting able to cover, hopefully, a fairly wide spectrum of games. I feel like I'm playing stuff on a bunch of different platforms and following a pretty wide net of interests. Was there ever a generation for you where you either took a break from games, or your interests narrowed quite heavily, or just life got in the way and you couldn't be as heavily invested in games? For me, I definitely think that was college. Where a lack of income and a desire to, get to know people in the dorm room. I was playing a lot of very specific types of things. I was playing a lot of Call of Duty. I was playing Team Fortress 2. I was playing Halo. I was playing Street Fighter. But that kind of came at the cost of other single-player experiences. Yeah. Did that happen to you at all, for you guys?
No. As you know, me and Mike were friends, like growing up since first grade, pretty much kindergarten. So like even as stuff faded away, me and Mike were always like friends, dropping out of games, stuff like that, doing other stuff. We still hung out with other people. Me and Mike were always the two kind of together, kind of communicating with each other about stuff. So like me and Mike would lend each other games all the time and stuff like that. So I would get to play stuff I would never have done. Like Mike showed me Katamari Damacy the first time. And I never heard of it or anything like that. And that was a really awesome thing. And I would share games with Mike and stuff like that. So we'd go back and forth. So, I mean, there was definitely systems I didn't have. So I missed out on some games, but I never felt like I missed out on a generation.
Okay. Damiani, were you pretty much Nintendo growing up? Or did you also have a PlayStation? Or did you get an Xbox right away? What was kind of that development for you?
Growing up, NES. NES. We pretty much got an NES like a year or two before Super Nintendo came out. So for me, it was NES, Super NES, and N64 for me. My younger brother got a Genesis, and then a PlayStation. So he was always the other console, essentially. So between us, we were able to play like the games we wanted and stuff. But Genesis games, like my brother was during the early times, my brother was very protective of the Genesis, and so he got a little annoyed if I ever tried to like play it. And I always wanted to like go play. I wanted to play Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes. He had the Formula One racer game, Virtua Race. No, it was a Virtua Racer or the 3D model racer on Genesis. That one I wanted to always try out and stuff because I was like, it just was a 3D game and it looked awesome. And he had one other game I forget now that was on there, and I always wanted to like try him out. And he was very protective. But once he got a PlayStation, that was like my window into like that as well. And I did not own a PlayStation system until college, and I bought a used PS1 actually. And my roommate and other friends had a PS2, so I had to play on other people's PS2s in college. I had the GameCube in college, but did not have an Xbox, did not have a PlayStation 2 of my own. But between our roommates, we all had one of those systems.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So growing up, it was mostly Nintendo because I don't think anyone personally had more than one system for themselves. We had two sets of grandparents, and one would buy one for each of us essentially, and they wouldn't buy each of us the same one. That's how it worked. So that's the only reason we got two consoles, because like we had very generous grandparents.
Right.
So my parents you should only one console is enough, and they would be like, no, they should each have their own and stuff. And when they saw us fighting, they were like, okay, it makes sense. They should probably have their own, so they stopped fighting and stuff.
Yeah.
Something that I miss, and this isn't a good thing. Like you could never bring it back, and maybe I just got really lucky. But thinking back to old game magazines, and this still happens on the internet, but I think because there are so many voices to listen to, it kind of gets swallowed up. But I remember just feeling like game magazines would be like, listen, this is going to change your life. There's never been a game like this before. If you don't play this, you suck. I remember that being the tone of Final Fantasy VII when that was coming out. Like, I swear, from what I was reading, from what I was seeing, people were treating it like the second coming. And I had no experience with Final Fantasy, didn't know anything about Final Fantasy. I was like, well, I guess I better pick this up. And it was just because of they just kind of bulldozed me with their opinion that I picked up Final Fantasy VII. And you know what? You're goddamn right. Yeah. It changed my life. Like I was obsessed with Final Fantasy VII just from a presentational standpoint, the way that they kind of transitioned from in-game graphics to the cinematics, it's still pretty impressive. Yeah. Obviously, the music is incredible. Like, I was so in love with Final Fantasy VII that I would take the guide with me to other places just because I wanted more Final Fantasy VII. And I felt like that would happen a lot. I remember like Metal Gear Solid 2 kind of being treated with similar hyperbole. And me just kind of being lucky and kind of buying into that and it working out time and time again. Was there anything that was very hyped up for you guys that let you down?
Oh, let me down? Oh, that's tough, dude.
Maybe one of the later rare games, like maybe Jet Force Gemini. I mean, they weren't hyped. I mean, it's obviously Nintendo Power hyping up, but yeah, I remember there's a lot of buzz about Jet Force Gemini, and I just couldn't get into it.
Sure.
And that was just more like I don't know if I wouldn't necessarily say the game is bad or anything, but I definitely had those moments though.
Yeah.
Those magazine moments, and Final 7 was one of them. I obviously I didn't have the PlayStation, and like playing a long RPG like that wasn't really gonna fly with my brother having it, so I didn't get to experience that game until way after it came out. But also I was confused because the whole numbering thing. I did play Final Fantasy to the Super Nintendo ones,
sure.
And all of a sudden I'm like, where'd the other 4 go or 3 go? You know, it was like wait, what? Where's 4, 5, 6? Now we're on 7. So I was just like, I felt like I was gonna miss out on it. But also another big one that I like missed out on, but every magazine was saying this could be a huge thing was Shenmue. Like everyone was saying like it's like the second coming of like the greatest game of all time, and every magazine just like was like hyping it up, and I'm like, I don't have a Dreamcast. I'm not gonna be able to get a Dreamcast. I'm not gonna get to play this game that everyone else is gonna be like too cool for me. You know.
I want to talk a little bit about the GameCube era.
Yeah.
And a sentiment that I remember being thrown around at the time, and just, I think the GameCube specifically is a system where my mind has changed the most, and the GameCube contains so many of some of the best games that I've ever played. But I remember being at school and people shitting on Wind Waker because of how it looked, where they wanted it to be serious, where they wanted it to be gritty.
Yeah.
And I remember that being kind of a pervasive feeling at the time. And now it's funny to go back and to see people rightfully revere that style and really appreciate how different of a turn it took compared to past games. I remember Animal Crossing also being heavily ridiculed because it's like, what do you even do? This isn't a real game. This is lame. That kind of sensation about games. And so it's interesting where a lot of those things now just have this respect that I just personally wasn't seeing at the time.
I remember when Wind Waker was coming out, and I was super hyped for it, Ben. I remember being at like a family reunion in Utah or something, and just at a game store, and like there was Wind Waker boxes on the top shelf because the game wasn't out yet or something like that. I just remember looking at the back and being so hyped to play this game.
Yeah.
Like, even though I wanted the realistic graphics, I was like, oh, it's Zelda, though. You know, I gotta play it, man. And I remember the first day of playing that game at my house, man, just enthralled with the game, just loving it, man. One of my friends came over, and he's like, oh, this looks kind of weird. He's like, this is Zelda? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, huh. Then he started watching me play, and he's like, oh, this is really cool. I really like this.
He turned around.
Yeah.
On it. Yeah. I will say that an early memory of Wind Waker that I had that was negative, that didn't have anything to do with the way the game looked, because I was into this style. I to this day I remember being really impressed by Tetra and being like, oh, okay, like you're doing something cool with this character. I still think Tetra is awesome, but the Ganon Fortress, I did not like the first time I played it.
The sneaking part.
It felt like it was way too long. It felt like I kept getting caught out and thrown into a dungeon in ways that felt kind of cheap. It's not that bad. I think I just wasn't used to it at the time, and it really caught me off guard. I don't mind it so much now. Still not a part I love, but I remember that being kind of a negative early impression. But yeah, were there any generations, I guess, of games where your opinion about them has gotten more or less favorable over time?
I remember when the Dreamcast was out. I thought it was cool. I never had one though, so I don't know. I was like, but it's okay. I don't need it, kind of thing like that. Like, sure. PS2's coming, I'm waiting for PS2 kind of thing.
A lot of people felt that way, Brad.
But like, there's so many crazy Dreamcast games I didn't even know about when I was younger.
So because my first console was a Nomad, I had kind of this loyalty to Sega. Right. It felt like, even though I didn't have a Saturn, which was weird, but I still felt a strong fondness for Sega.
Dude, like, I knew one kid that had a Saturn. It was like rare then.
And I think what it was for me with the Dreamcast specifically is playing that demo of Sonic Adventure and still like just loving Sonic so much that like after playing that Sonic Adventure demo, I needed a Dreamcast, and that was rewarded with so many cool games, like getting Jet Set Radio, Jet Grind Radio.
Oh, Jet Grind Radio
and
blew my mind when I played that.
Playing that, it was so amazing. Power Stone was so amazing. House of the Dead 2 was so amazing. So I had a lot of fondness for the Dreamcast.
I lucked out though, because a lot of my friends had Dreamcast though, so I could play it at their house. Like Mike had it, and Mike had like both the guns for House of the Dead.
I feel like you getting the Huber system, like both of you benefited in such like an unfair, awesome way.
It was like at that age, like if one of your friends, like your good friends, has a system, you're usually okay. You usually don't need to get it yourself, especially like the Dreamcast, for example. Like I got to play a lot of games, but there's still a lot I didn't know about.
Sure. It's hard. It's the first time doing this segment. I feel like we could kind of go on and talk about different generations. We didn't really talk about the 360, PS3, or current gen so much. We focused a lot on the earlier stuff. But I think that's, because we don't get to talk about those things as much on Frame Trap, and so it's nice to visit those things. I do want to start raking the generations.
Okay.
I do want to start running through things, and we'll do a rundown real quick. So Gen A, NES, Master System, Gen B, Genesis, Super Nintendo, TurboGrafx 16, Gen C, PlayStation, N64, Saturn, Gen D, Dreamcast, PS2, Xbox, GameCube, Gen E, 360, PS3, Wii, Gen F, Wii U, PS4, Xbox One, Switch.
Whew.
I have a strong, I swear to God, I have a strong fondness for every single one of these goddamn
because there's certain like moments in my life I attach to each separate generation that I love. It's tough because something like the NES, for me, I can go back, and so many of those games I still enjoy so much.
but I feel like it's maybe a little bit more inconsistent.
Sure.
I actually feel that way kind of also about the PlayStation N64 Saturn era, where a lot of those games are so good, but so many of those early 3D games don't really hold up, and I don't want to go back and play them, or they've been iterated on to the point where I'd rather just play updated versions of those games. And so when I'm looking at it, to me, it's kind of like Gen A, NES, Master System, and Gen C, PlayStation N64 Saturn are kind of maybe at the bottom for me. I'm not sure. What do you guys think?
I don't know, man. Are we counting like you could play old games on newer systems or stuff like that, or just the games associated with that system? Like,
no, I mean, I kind of, when I'm talking about, regardless of whether or not you're playing them on like Virtual Console or however you're playing them, I'm still counting that as part of the older generation.
Okay.
Like, I don't think you can make an argument because we're focusing on the games, I guess, is my point.
I'll rank it by like me in that moment when I was playing them, kind of thing like that, I guess.
Sure, that's fine.
One of like the top things for me is just N64 because of like how many friends I have. We all play local games.
I see.
Like playing GoldenEye.
Yeah.
Like one of the greatest things. Playing Smash Brothers, one of the greatest things. Like playing Ocarina of Time, life changing. Super Mario 64, life changing, thing like that. Like for sure, there's definitely weak games in there, but I'm just thinking about my time in life playing those types of games.
That's a good point, Brad. I guess I was thinking about it from the perspective of now, but yeah, some of the best.
I think you could do that though too.
Right.
Like I think they're both valid. I'm just like, I don't know if I'm ranking necessarily the best way, but I'm just ranking where I was in time at that point.
Absolutely. I think just for me and ranking this stuff, I feel like we got to either start at the top or we got to start at the bottom.
Absolutely.
Any strong opinions, Damiani?
I do feel that Gen A by the category, yeah, like they're definitely standout games, but even recently going back to like the NES channel on the Switch, just seeing how many games that no matter what you do, even if you were like around to play them back in the day, just trying to play them again in 2018 just shows that we've come a long way, and it's really hard to go back and play a lot of those games. Some have definitely aged pretty well, but a lot have not.
Yes.
And I understand it's a generation that it's like credited for like revitalizing and bringing back video games from the brink, and that's important and everything. But in terms of like ranking, like in terms of the greatest, I have to put it actually pretty like low as well.
Sure.
Like towards the bottom. I'd put it towards the bottom.
Okay.
And I think I like, when I think about what I want to play more, I'd rather play PS1, N64, Saturn era games over NES Master System games.
Yeah.
Any day of the week. So I would definitely put Gen C above A. Like that's what I'm leaning towards. So they'd both be kind of low, and I'd put C above A. If we're talking about like the bottom stuff.
I just have to agree with all of that. And so I will position that we have the NES Master System era at the bottom.
Okay.
For that reason.
Okay.
Can we all agree on that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So NES Master System at the very bottom. It's tough, man, because the PlayStation N64 era have some of my favorite games still to this day. Metal Gear Solid 1 is still my favorite game. I still think it holds up. I still think it's very playable. And the PS1 era has kind of some of the most important RPGs to me ever, and I don't think those age as poorly because they aren't so reliant on control in a lot of ways. It's more about the characters and the storytelling and the battle systems and how those are presented. So I don't know. What do we think about the 360 PS3 Wii era?
I mean, of all like every generation, well, the problem I'm having is the most recent generation. Like, I don't want to give it that high.
The one we're on right now.
Yeah, like I feel,
really,
I feel weird about it's not done yet. So like I feel weird. I know like we pointed good stuff, but like I don't think it's in my weird like rule set in my head. Like I'm not like it's my mind saying don't let it go any way higher than mid tier like of the ranking.
Damiani, I'm with you to a degree.
but
for me personally, I that process makes sense, but in my opinion, I'm almost willing to say like the Switch is already better than the Wii U. I don't think that's controversial at all.
Absolutely.
I think it's better than the Wii. Like,
yeah, but like I think it's weird. The Wii U is a weird in between thing. Like you'll hear people who get like our categorization of these gens.
Yeah,
they're gonna be people who are angry that we're putting Wii U in with.
I mean, it's hard to.
I know that's what it is, but
Yeah.
people are gonna be like, no, you should be judging Wii 360, PS3, and Wii U's its own weird like thing.
I'm sorry, I'm not gonna give Wii U its own generation.
I know
it's not gonna happen.
I know that's the thing. It is. Yeah, it's generally put in it's generally grouped in with PS4,
Yeah.
Xbox One,
Sure.
and Switch. You know that's how it is and stuff. And you know, Wii U it has good games, but like that system was also a disaster.
But I also think even the PS4 has already made a strong case for itself.
Yeah.
As not only being a great system in its own right, but kind of standing up to the legacy of a lot of these other PlayStation systems.
I'm also having a hard time remembering the games that were originally PS3 360 games that have now been like remastered on PS4. So like they exist in both domains. Games like also like with always backwards compatibility, but like honestly I'm leaning towards Gen B and D being the top for me. Those two are towards the top. So this is my thought process. I already said what should be near the bottom.
Yeah.
I think B and D should be near the top, and then it's between the current gen F and
B,
F and E, right?
Oh.
Are those the last two we have, F and E?
So
E
if we
and F.
put the Genesis, Super Nintendo, these letters have made it so confusing. That's my bad. We put Genesis, Super Nintendo, and TurboGrafx, and as well as Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube near the top, and we're putting NES and Master System at the bottom. That means we'd have to sort out PlayStation, N64, Saturn, and 360, PS3, Wii, and Wii U, PS4, Xbox One, and
That's
Switch.
where I'm at. Is like sorting those three out in the middle, like from that thing. I don't think any of those three, to me, don't beat out the PS2, GameCube, Xbox or Super Nintendo, Genesis, Saturn or not Saturn era, whatever the hell else was out that era. We didn't even say. All the like weird spin-off stuff.
Oh yeah,
we don't need to go there.
We're trying to do the big hitters
Super
here.
Nintendo, Saturn.
I'm going to make an argument because I've actually always when it's come to ranking systems and when we've talked about it, with other allies and stuff, and we've talked about it on podcasts, I've always fallen in the line of the SNES era being the best.
Sure.
Because those games are so playable, they're still so classic. It's hard to say anything bad about like Chrono Trigger. It's hard to say anything bad about Super Metroid. A lot of these games, however, I'm going to change my tune this time.
Okay.
And argue that the Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube are actually the best because of how crazy diverse that generation of system is. I feel like just in terms of ideas, you get so wild in a way that other generations can't match in terms of like the breadth of its weirdness. And I feel like things like Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door and Animal Crossing and Eternal Darkness and a lot of stuff on PlayStation 2 just gets so crazy but still good. Like you kind of have the best of both worlds. I feel like you have an abundantly creative time for video games, but you still have a lot of stunners. And even the things that are stunners are filled with new ideas. Like Halo was really a huge turning point for first-person shooters on consoles. So it had a lot of new, but there was just this incredible amount of polish to it. Resident Evil 4, taking the Resident Evil series and just like flipping it out on its head. It's just such an exciting time for video games that I don't know will ever be matched again.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
I could see that. Yeah,
I would position that as the top.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough decision. I just see like the Genesis and Super Nintendo were some of the best RPGs come out of that era.
And they still are.
And like the birth of a lot of series or the rise to popularity of the series were helped by those platforms. I mean, you saw like obviously continuation like Final Fantasy doing great on there. You saw the Star Ocean series begin on Super Famicom. You saw like the Tale series even technically began at that period. All the original Fantasy Star games, the Lunar games, like they're just
Fantasy Star started on Master System.
Master System. Okay, sorry, I always get that confused and stuff.
It's all right.
But I just like just like on Super Nintendo, Illusion of Gaia. We talked about Chrono Trigger, Earthbound. Talk about being like innovative and stuff like that. Yeah,
Earthbound is still
Secret of Mana was also at that time period. I mean, not just that. Like it felt like I mean it had reached like a golden age of like just 2D games and not just like RPGs. Like we had so many great platformers, fighting games at that time, like
and
Street Fighter.
So beautiful.
Yeah, like Street Fighter 2, the digitized real life images of Mortal Kombat still working on
1,
there.
2, and 3 on there.
Yeah. Seeing like even like arcade style games.
Did
like
MK3 come out on 60-bit consoles?
Yep.
Okay.
Super Nintendo, baby.
Like Smash TV, like Super Smash TV, like seeing the the evolution of NES games to Super Nintendo, how like much more expansive and like complex they got, and seeing that evolution was really good. And yeah, I like it's just really tough because I think some of the best iterations of series, especially like the best 2D expression of them, came out during that period. But at the same time, the GameCube, PS2, Xbox era saw same type of evolution. Like ones that didn't successfully transform in the previous generation either got a chance during that. Like Metroid did not make the jump in N64 era. It finally made the jump during GameCube, and like holy crap, that was something we did not expect, seeing Metroid Prime.
Right.
But like seeing even like new and potentially arguably better iterations, up for debate. But yeah, like Resident Evil 4, like we'd seen Resident Evil thrive on the previous generation, but all of a sudden RE4 comes, like we're gonna change things up. We're gonna like evolve this series in a way you didn't expect it to do, and it's like, okay, this is amazing. I mean, you saw like Halo console shooter. Yes, we had GoldenEye, which is great. But Halo is arguably like the start of like the modern console shooter that we know today, like starting at that period. Even like Final Fantasy going from like pre-rendered backgrounds with 3D models to fully 3D environments. The more common use of voice work at that period. In-game cutscenes looking better, so they didn't have to rely so much on full motion video, CG. Just like really good advancements of that. I mean, like that was pretty much the advent of online too. Like online console gaming became more common at that point as well. That's like easily overlooked.
That's something that I actually really want to give credit to for the 360, PS3, and Wii era is, I like, yes, you were going online with the Dreamcast and with the PS2, and there were great things that came out of that, but like 360 generation is really where you nailed this is an online infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Here is digital distribution for games. And I think because it came into its own so much, you have to give a lot of credit to that generation for it. Brad, I feel like we're at an impasse between the 16-bit generation if you had to pick one.
I think I would pick like Super Nintendo is one of my favorite consoles of all time, but I feel like probably the PS2, Dreamcast, Xbox era has like more, I would say, strengths to it.
Gotcha.
But like, I mean, I love all these things, so I'm fine with kind of whatever. I'm like taking the easy way out, I guess.
PS2 also had a great amount of RPGs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, to me, it's Super Nintendo, PS2, and then like GBA DS, like Nintendo handheld, are like the three best, RPG platforms for.
And I mean,
besides PC,
being able to use your video game system for something other than playing games,
DVD player,
having a DVD player, it's pretty big deal.
Yeah, that too. Like that. I mean, from CD player to DVD player, and like more than it became more than just video game machines.
Right.
At that point, which was a big deal, definitely for that. But yeah. I feel like we're getting other important games during that period. Oh yeah, like Shadow of the Colossus came out at that point.
Shadow of the Colossus,
both of those, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dragon Quest 8, like.
All right, I'm gonna tentatively put PS2, GameCube, Xbox on here.
Okay.
At number 1. Okay. Gonna put 16-bit right below that. I agree, Damiani. I think you bring up a good point with where the generation isn't over. I feel like right now I might look upon the PS4, Xbox One, Switch era more fondly than the 360, PS3, Wii era. But I think kind of in line with your argument, I'd be willing to put the 360, PS3, Wii era above it and let this play out. And so we can get kind of more of a... Because it's interesting, like I think about games like Portal and BioShock and Mass Effect very, very, very fondly, and I think those games did so many amazing things. And Portal, I think, still absolutely holds up. But, like, Mass Effect and BioShock have taken a little bit of a hit, not because they're not amazing games or they weren't amazing at the time. I just don't think they've held up maybe quite as well as I expected them to. Like, BioShock is still cool, but it doesn't grab me the same way that it did when I first played it. Whereas, like, some of these other games, especially like the Super Nintendo games, I could still go and feel that magic. Yeah.
I also would argue against the current generation. I would argue, like, Xbox One hasn't done enough to match up to its previous iterations.
Sure.
Especially when compared to 360, it's not even close. I know there were great games on Wii U, but the selection was really harsh. So you're looking at Switch and PS4, and if you want to lump in PC stuff, but like looking back at like the PS3, 360, Wii generation, we've named several Wii games, right? Like the Galaxy games.
Right.
You know, we mentioned I mean the stuff that's on there, but like with PS3, like the Uncharted series starting there. You had, I mean, it was multi-platform, but like, you know, you had Devil May Cry 4 come out at that point. You had Metal Gear Solid 4 come out that generation. You also had, like, favorites of mine, like Valkyria Chronicles started on PS3. Ni no Kuni was on PS3. You have a lot of really good games that came out for PS3 and a lot of great multi-platform games coming out on 360, and we had really good exclusives. Missed out on a lot of third-party support, obviously, but its first-party offerings like, you know, Mario Kart Wii was like fun on that as well. Brawl, you know, came out, was like exciting for that. You had Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword come out on that system. Yeah, it had a lot of good entries, but I think people overlook how much stuff actually came out on PS3 and what that system, like God of War 3. Like, people like loved that game when it came out. It was like the scale and that.
Demon Souls and Dark Souls,
yep. It's like waiting for that chime in.
Based on the conversations that we have now, we've had in this time, I've come up with a tentative ranking of the generations. So at the very bottom, we've got NES Master System. Above that, we've got PS4, Xbox One, Wii U, and Switch. Above that, I have the PlayStation, N64, and Saturn. Above that, I have the 360, PS3, and Wii. Above that, I've got the 16-bit consoles, Genesis, SNES, TurboGrafx, and above that, at the very top, I have the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox.
Okay.
The only thing that I'm not quite sure on is, like, I don't know if the PlayStation, N64, and Saturn should be above or below the 360, PS3, Wii.
That's
right
the
now
only thing
below.
I would switch is these two around.
You
But,
would
like,
switch them
I'm
around?
cool with them being where it is because I love them all, but I just think back on the PlayStation Super and N64 super fondly.
Brad, I'm glad
And
you
how
said
many
that.
games I loved on there. Like, all three Final Fantasies on that thing.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy, like, any Square Enix game, period, on that. All the, like, the Tony Hawk games on there. Just like any JRPG, because I loved those. There's so many good JRPGs on there. So many great party games to play with people on N64.
I don't know why, Brad, but you just saying Tony Hawk. It made me
Dude,
be like,
Tony Hawk
it has
1
to be this
and
way.
2 were
It just has
so
to
sick.
Yes. Tony Hawk 3 was
But, I
also
mean, I
sick.
love the 360 PS3 and Wii, too. So, I mean, I'm cool with it either way, but I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Brad, I'm hard. It's hard to disagree with you, man. I think at the bottom we got NES Master System. Above that, we have PS4, Xbox One, Wii U, and Switch. Second to last. Third to last, we have the 360, PS3, and Wii. Then we have the PlayStation, N64, and Saturn. At third best, Then we have 16-bit at second best. And at the very top, we have the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. And it's crazy because a few years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, I never would have put PS2, GameCube, and Xbox at the very top.
Sure.
But that is how my opinions have changed. Damiani, do you like that list?
It's one I can live with.
Okay.
I'd personally switch 1 and 2, but they're very close.
They're very close to me.
Sure, yeah.
Like
Very
I
close to
can
me too.
live with this.
Okay. So we're at the end of the first game Fiesta. I know we've talked about generations and stuff before, but I thought at the end of the year it'd be fun to kind of take a broad look.
Back.
I think maybe next year we should go maybe a little bit narrower and have a more comprehensive discussion. But I hope you guys had fun talking about the lifetime of video games. Of course, viewer, please give your feedback. But it's time for the most exciting part. Emperor Bloodworth's opinion. He actually gave me 2 different rankings.
Wait, what?
Wow.
So he
He's
like
Emperor.
no, he ranked them and he was like, no wait, I gotta change them.
That's a lot of text.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of text.
Okay.
All right, so we'll see. We'll count this as blood points. So every time our opinion matches up with Bloodworth, we get 1 blood point.
All right.
So in last place, he agrees with us that Gen A, the NES and Master System, are at the bottom.
Blood point.
Give us
We
a
get
blood
a-
point.
We get a blood point,
Excellent.
baby.
Yeah.
Next, guess what? We get another blood
Yeah!
point! The PS4, Xbox One, Wii U, and Switch, he has in second to last place. Oh my God. Brad, your Switch gave us another blood point! We are all lined up right now.
Yes.
Bloodworth has the 360 PS3 Wii on there. We wouldn't have gotten that blood point were it not for that Bradley Ellis Switch. And then the train keeps on rolling. 4th blood point. He has the PlayStation N64 and Saturn at 3rd. So it comes down to the
Sick.
final 2.
Flip it.
We don't get a blood point.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew
We
Bloodworth
don't get a
would
blood
give it to
point.
16
The blood
bit.
train's
Yeah.
over.
The
You got
blood,
Super
the
Metroid
blood
on
train
that
is
thing.
over.
He's
In
giving it
second
number
place, he has the Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube.
All right, we're pretty close.
We're
though.
very close. And then at the top, he has the 16-bit area, the Genesis, SNES, TurboGrafx. I am going to look at the other list that he gave me,
The first one?
the first one,
Okay.
and see how it is different. It looks extremely similar. What did he
Maybe
switch?
switch one around.
Oh, in this one, he had flipped the 360, PS3, and Wii. So he had 360, PS3, and Wii in the second to last.
Mm-hmm.
But he switched that for the current generation. So
Gotcha.
second to last
Gotcha.
matches up with ours. But otherwise, it looks exactly the same.
Cool.
In both, he had the 16-bit being in the number 1 spot. Still, I think for the first ever Game Fiesta, getting 4 blood points, you're going to have a good Christmas.
It's a blood
That's a
fiesta
good
now,
one.
baby.
Yeah. We'll have to see. Maybe I can talk to Bloodworth and we can do something with those blood
Yeah,
points.
I'm into
Not
this.
sure. Not sure. But we are going to move in to the final segment of the show. Still want to get your feedback. Still want to do viewer questions. We're going to do some emails. Our first email, as soon as I pull it up, will come in. Oh my God, iPad. What an awkward transition.
iPad, baby.
iPad. It's slow. I asked for a new iPad, so maybe it will get a little bit faster. This iPad is like 5 or 6 years old, I think. It's very old. And I'm logged into the wrong email account. And so now you have to watch me awkwardly switch into the right email account. How many Gmail accounts do you guys have?
2.
I think I have like 6.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Because, like, when I was freelancing, I was like, oh, okay, I need a more professional email.
Gotcha.
And, And then I've
Absolutely.
got different accounts for different shows that I run and so all that stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Our first email comes in from Brandon. He says, hello, everyone. While doing some aimless channel surfing, the TV spot for Fallout 76 played, and after all the backlash Bethesda has been receiving for the game, both now, formerly Battlecry Studios and Bethesda themselves, I was wondering if it was a good move to continue promoting the game that, as of this time of writing, is still in an unacceptable state. So, how long should a game continue to be advertised if it is being received so poorly? And conversely, how long should it keep going if it's a critical success like Red Dead Redemption 2, Spider-Man, and God of War? Have a happy holidays, New Year's, and as always, thanks for taking my question.
So they said channel surfing, so they saw it on television?
Yeah.
I mean, one thing to consider is that like ad buys are for a set period of time.
Right.
And unless there is some kind of like violation or mandate by like here in the US, like FCC says something, that FCC again, Ben. It's back.
Yeah, it's back.
It's back. Yeah,
we rank stuff.
Yeah,
though, so
usually
we're
once the contract's inked and everything, it's happening. Like that, those ads are running and stuff. I mean, they got to show something, so they probably paid for a month of advertising on a channel and stuff at certain slots, and they paid their money. So it's like they could pull them, but the company's going to sell the space to another person. You're just wasting your money. I mean. I guess there's not much you can do about it at that point once you like bought all that. So
sure.
It might be out of their control for those. But in that Fallout 76 position, I would probably wouldn't renew any kind of marketing for that game at the current point until things are figured out and resolved. Just because you're just drawing more attention to like a bad situation.
A big reason I pulled this email is because I had kind of an informative experience around the time that Fallout 4 came out. And I went home and I was talking to a bunch of people that like weren't super connected into games, but were aware of Fallout 4 and very excited about Fallout 4. I mean, these are people that are only playing a couple of games a year. Mm-hmm. And I think Skyrim just had... and Fallout 3 as well. Fallout 3, Skyrim had so much success that it kind of put them on like a GTA level where people who don't play games are going to play these games. And so I had to wonder, like, outside of our bubble, is the panning of Fallout 76 reaching those people? Or are they still excited by the idea of an online Fallout? Does the name Fallout still kind of command that much attention? Or did a lot change after Fallout 4 for those people?
I think like this is like the first big misstep for the series. Like obviously the series have ups and downs, but I feel like this is the first huge one, so a lot of people might not know yet. I think by the time the next Fallout comes around, people might be a little more cautious about it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I do have to wonder outside of our sphere how much, this really matters to some people. But I do think Bethesda is probably looking at this and like they could write this one off because of their history. Just like this is our misstep. Okay, we screwed this one up. Sorry, but guess what? Just have to follow up with a Fallout 5 and make it amazing, and everyone will. I mean, not everyone will forget, but everyone will like forgive and be like, yeah, never mind that Fallout 76, experiment. It was whatever.
I wonder if there's any chance of Bethesda doing a New Vegas sort of situation where it's like, listen, we're focused on Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, but let's kind of shepherd another studio and work on a new, maybe single-player Fallout game as maybe not a make good, but to kind of not have it be like 10 years until we get the next Fallout
the sting
game.
Of Fallout
right.
76 being the last thing for a long time. Yeah, that'd be bad. I mean, I could see that they've done it before. They just gotta find the right studio. Like, they could maybe, like, what if the team that does, like, Doom just makes the next Fallout for some reason? Like, I want you to keep making Doom, but I'm just saying, like, what if a studio like that took over?
Sure.
Or, like, Arcane, who did...
I would love to see...
Like, the Dishonored games. Like, they'll do the next Fallout or something.
Yeah. That would be very cool. I think Arcane, in particular, would be
I think they'd be awesome at it.
All right. Next email comes in from Jared. Happy holidays, Ben and fellow allies. I'm not sure if this episode will sneak in before or after the holidays, but I want to ask you about your favorite Christmas gaming memories. If you have been following us since the Game Trailers days, you know that we did a list talking about this. But still, very good question. Whether it's the moment of pure joy when my siblings and I got our N64 and Mario 64, or the year of Pokemon for me in 1999 when I got Pokemon Yellow, or even my shock of getting a GameCube instead of a PS2 one year. I've had quite a few memorable video game moments over the years. I loved my GameCube, by the way. So what are your favorite and most memorable holiday video game moments? What is your favorite game to play over the holidays? I always seem to find a way to get back into Halo with my little brother around the holidays, even though I rarely play it anymore.
Favorite game gift I ever got was my Super Nintendo with A Link to the Past in it. That was like the god tier gift. Like, I don't think it'll ever be topped for me.
Damiani, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I only have one because actually I only got a game system once on for holidays, and it was Super Nintendo as well. But
Nice.
the launch one.
Yeah, I got mine later.
Came with like Super Mario World, and I got like two other games.
Pilot Wings?
F-Zero and Pilot Wings, I want to say I got, and my
Cool.
brother got they bought a tennis game, Super Tennis.
Oh, okay.
We played that as well. I mean,
Yeah,
we played
I mean,
the heck
yeah,
out of all
yeah.
those games.
You take what you can get, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You
we
play
played-
what you had.
We played that Super Tennis.
Yeah.
A lot of it. It was fun stuff.
I told this story in the video, but it's still true. The best Christmas present I ever got and will ever get was the PlayStation 2. Not just because it was a PlayStation 2, but because at the launch of the PS2, the news stories, like the sensation was, you can't get this system. It'll be sold out everywhere. The Wii was the same sort of thing, where it was just impossible to get your hands on a PlayStation 2, or at least that's what my parents told me and what I was reading and what my friends were telling me. And so I believed it. And so going into that Christmas, it was like, this is the only thing I want. But I understand if they can't get it. That's a totally reasonable thing. And I remember the entire Christmas celebration happened. Everyone had opened up their gifts, and I was still young enough that like I was trying to be mature, and I was like, "Hey, Mom and Dad, thanks for like the great Christmas," and tears were building up in my eyes. Not because I was mad at my parents
Right.
or was throwing a tantrum or anything, but I was like trying to be mature about it, and like kind of just sad, like slight disappointment. Couldn't fight off the disappointment. Running back up to my room, and I had my own little Christmas tree, and there was another gift under there. And they were like, hey, this is, when we were opening up the other gifts, they were like, sorry, this is all you're getting.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, it's cool. Thank you for everything. Like, I don't know if I've ever been happier in my life, man. Like shredding off that paper like a ravenous beast. It was,
Yeah,
parents,
that's
the
awesome.
parents trolled me perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, oh man,
Yeah,
riding
that's
off
good
that
stuff,
high
man.
forever. But getting any game console for Christmas, always very, very, very exciting. As I would get older, I would like recognize like, okay, this gift is wrapped in the shape of a
Right,
game.
yeah.
And getting excited about that and like separating them into like, okay, this is the game pile.
Yeah.
And so that would be really cool. But also I think another big gaming memory for me, and maybe this is true for you guys, is getting a game and playing it with people that you don't get to see very often. So like cousins and stuff, that would always be really hype for me, is like, oh man, you know, I only get to see you guys once or twice a year. It's cool that we get to share, you know, any games at all together, or showing you this stuff, or you showing an interest in it. So I always
Absolutely.
appreciated that too. Awesome. Our very last email, as we look ahead, early 2019 predictions. This comes in from, I might pronounce this wrong, I believe it is Hugo. Yes, I hope I pronounced that right. If I don't, let me know. Hello, allies. The year is almost over, and I feel like this time we already have more AAA games with set release dates for next year than previous industry standards. Shoutouts to Shenmue 3, August 27th, 2019. With that, I would like to suggest a prediction round for what you expect for the games that we know are coming, or even new announcements for 2019's first quarter. Hugo predicts, I predict people complaining about Kingdom Hearts 3 only having a 60 to 70 hour campaign. He also predicts that Sekiro being the best-selling From Software game, bringing new players to the Souls-like genre because of its less dark tone and aesthetic.
Oh, it's dark. Don't worry.
Also predicts Anthem will be the first smooth EA released in a long time. That Days Gone will be actually good, and that Metro Exodus will have a day one patch 1.5 times bigger than the actual game. So from you guys, do you have any expectations for 2019?
I expect Shenmue to get delayed.
Again,
Maybe not that long though. Like maybe a week or two.
Brad, that's a rough first prediction. I
Yeah.
mean, not saying it's believable.
I'm
but-
just feeling it. Like
Yeah.
I don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
I don't want it to happen.
Yeah. I'm with you, man.
Yeah, that's a doozy. I bet by the end of 2019 we'll have confirmation that Final Fantasy VII Remake is not coming out on current gen platforms.
That's right.
Like that Band-Aid will be ripped off at some point.
Yep.
Either at E3 or probably more likely at probably a PlayStation 5 reveal event at some point in the year, I would guess.
I bet a new Legend of Zelda game will be announced next year.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Pretty safe bet.
Ooh, baby, I'm hyped.
It is a safe bet. We gotta get dumber with our bets. Not dumber with our bets, dumber with our predictions.
Any bets on what that spike in the second half of the year for Square Enix is going to be? They're anticipating a huge sales bump in the second half of next year. What game could come out that it's not 7 Remake? Let's strike that right now. So
a new Nier game.
New Nier game. Nier 3?
There's a new Nier being worked on.
Yeah.
I believe. Other 2019 predictions.
A new Final Fantasy Tactics on Switch.
I hope Devil May Cry 5 exceeds sales expectations. I think it will review well, and I think the hype from the reviews will shift interest to that game in an exciting way.
Yeah.
I predict Metroid Prime 4 will come out in the fall.
I predict we'll see Bloodborne 2 2019. Not out, just shown. Or revealed in some way.
Brad, I want that to be true. I'm kind of getting to a point where I think there is no Bloodborne 2.
I don't think Sony is letting them walk away from that just yet.
Okay.
Banjo and Smash will become a reality. As one of the DLC packs.
What makes you think that?
It's because how crazy Joker and Persona 5 being in Smash Brothers. I'm starting to believe. I'm not ready to go back on the Goku train, but I can get back on board the Banjo train.
If they were to announce Banjo-Kazooie for Smash, that would be one of the best days to be on the internet. It won't last very long.
So enjoy
and
it.
it will quickly turn into a hellish landscape. But for like this brief period of time, the Banjo being announced for Smash Brothers, you just want to like bask in the gifts that will come out from that announcement.
Well, it's like when Banjo Nuts and Bolts was announced. Everyone just
Sure.
thought it was a new Banjo game, and everyone's like, "Wow!" Then everyone found out what it was, and like, "Oh."
I think we got to get an update. We got to get a new Capcom fighter announced, I think, this year.
What do you think it'll be?
I mean, I don't think it'll be this next Street Fighter because I think 5, they're still supporting 5 through 2019, sounds like. But it can either be another Marvel's Capcom revival, like that rumor was, or just a new versus, like or another Capcom versus something. Well, it'll be a versus game. I'm pretty confident.
I just want a Capcom
Confident
versus.
in like my gut.
Just
says,
the whole roster
yeah.
is Capcom characters.
Capcom versus the world.
Yes.
Capcom versus Capcom.
Man, I don't know what else to predict.
What do you think? Here you go. What do you think that Switch update's going to be? The Wall Street Journal Japan said that Switch hardware revision's coming. Do you want to go bold and think it's like a significant update, or just gonna say? Do you want to say it's a small, like insignificant update?
I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine the Switch update being too severe. I feel like the Switch is doing so well. Like, what hardware revision would they need to add to it that would be crazy, that would benefit it?
Something
Just
that
more
would be
powerful.
launching alongside with Pokemon 2019.
Like, use this version of the Switch to make your Pokemon real?
I mean, what functionality does Switch not have that it could technically use? I don't think it's gonna be I don't think it's gonna be a power update.
Yeah.
But think of, I don't know, maybe there's something it's more capable of doing that the current one isn't.
Well, you got any ideas?
I mean, no. I mean, sorry. I mean, my the cloud idea is like not dependent on the hardware. I think it's all like back end server stuff. Like start supporting streaming of any game, so like any game could come. But like I don't think that needs a revision of the system,
Right.
At all. I could be mistaken on that. But I'm thinking of like something that a phone can do that Switch can't do. That like is a Pokemon Go takes advantage of, or something that Switch doesn't. Something like that could be something as simple as that. And then, you know, obviously they're gonna update the chip so people can't do the exploit on the Switch.
Yep.
Like that's the most obvious one.
Yep.
But I have to believe it's gonna be more than that. It can't be something stupid just like that. Like
It can be.
I mean it's like we're once again updating the chip to prevent any exploits, and that's it, everyone. And it's gonna be a slim redesign. Like it's very small. Oh, that was the thing. An all no physical cartridge version, all digital.
I pretty much already buy Switch games digitally.
If they can make it smaller and maybe a new revision for like the Joy-Cons.
I hope the new revision like just improves the Wi-Fi in general, because the Wi-Fi in the Switch is bizarre, where like it is the only handheld or system that I have where I take it into the next room and the Wi-Fi signal suddenly gets terrible. Like the range on that thing is not good for me. I don't know if that's just a me thing or what, but I feel like Bloodworth has echoed the sentiment, so I feel a little bit more confident in that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't paid too much attention to that. Maybe that's one thing. Yeah.
I make this prediction every year. I'm going to keep making it until it's true. Mother 3 will be officially released in North America by Nintendo in 2019.
I'll jump on the dream train with you, Ben.
Yeah.
Revengeance 2.
Revengeance 2.
Being announced this year.
Revengeance 2.
Every year.
Oh,
every
it's
year.
funny,
Revengeance 2. Do we think we'll see Final Fantasy
There are
16?
people who don't like Metal Gear Rising.
That's okay.
No, it's not.
It's okay.
No, I mean, of course it's okay. But I just don't understand.
They can't dislike the music. I don't tolerate that. Yeah, if you dislike the music, we have problems.
Brad, when I would carpool to work with Damiani, he would play Rules of Nature
I bet.
in the car.
I feel like he's playing it with me in the car. I feel
That's
like.
probably true. You don't know Damiani unless
Yeah.
you've been in a car with him and he's
Yeah.
been playing Rules of Nature. You know, guys, I got to be honest. I feel like we gave some pretty lame 2019 predictions.
Yeah.
But
We're saving them for the official 2019 prediction.
What?
throwing Brad under the bus.
I said Bloodborne 2, and you're like, oh, that's crazy. And I said Shenmue getting delayed. You're like, I don't know about that. The Switch update will be stronger hardware, just like from the 3DS to the new 3DS.
Okay.
I hope they call it the Switch X.
Me too.
All right.
The Switcher.
Switch GT. That's what I want.
This was a different episode of Frame Trap. Thank you so much, Bradley Ellis and Michael Damiani, for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's weird knowing that this won't go up for weeks. But yeah, if you're seeing this, it's probably Christmas Eve or very close to Christmas Eve. I hope you are with family and friends. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're playing some good-ass games. And we will see you with Frame Trap, always looking to improve it, and we'll hopefully make some big improvements in 2019. If you want to send in an email, please email askeasyallies@gmail.com. Thank you, as always, so much for your continued support. It means a lot to me that you guys keep watching Frame Trap, that you keep getting excited about it, that you still want to get involved with it, and I appreciate that so, so much. We will see you in the new year. Love you guys. Peace out.